So, how has your weekend been, Adam?
Well, my weekend has been filled with birthday parties and chaperoning kids and, and watching over them. But they're polite and
Well,
really well raised. Yeah, so it was
that's
fun
good.
actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I think back to like when I was a kid and like some of the stuff that people I was associated with, as kids, everyone's your friend. Some
right.
of the stuff they got up to. So the fact that those kids are polite, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it really gives me hope. So or just at least props to those parents that did a good job with them.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, I like this upcoming generation. It's not easy what they're going through, or what prospects they have. I mean, it's just a crazy change, fast and rapidly changing world that's coming. I feel for them.
Yeah,
You know?
no, I do too. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, as a kid, you don't really have the wherewithal or world knowledge to like understand how crazy things are right now.
Right? I mean, with AI and robotics and quantum computers, and it's just I don't know. It's hard to put them on the path to where they're going to be okay in life, right? That's what
Right.
you really worry about.
Well, I think it's just like any other period of time. You treat them with love and kindness and show them the right way to do things, and you just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah, and lots of things give me hope with Gen Z as well. When it comes to politics and how they're on the right side of things. They have
Mhm.
empathy, and I guess that might be because of social media. Because they grew up in this world around them, they have no concept of like the physical world like us.
Yeah, yeah. They have
Uh,
no concept of what the world was like before 9/11.
oh,
Stuff like
and that
stuff like
exactly.
that. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah, and at least they're technologically savvy. Um,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know,
they have like a robotics classes, so she's gonna be taking that next semester. And man, I
that's
would
so
love to
cool, man.
take that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no kidding. Would have been super helpful.
and disclosure, with them is gonna be probably a real thing. I mean, it's accelerating, and there's so much that happened this last week, and from all different angles, from all over the place. They're not gonna be able to keep a lid on this. No way. It's coming out.
Well, should we dig into it?
Yeah, why don't we start with one of your
Well,
masterpieces?
why don't
Oh,
we
yes.
why don't we start with this is the Uncovering Anomalies podcast.
Yes, everyone.
That is I have a need to know. Adam,
What up?
I am Topher, and we are so excited to be here this week with you guys.
Yeah, and this is episode 117. May the 4th be with you.
May the fourth be with you.
All right,
Yes,
let's
come
get
to the
this
dark side.
show on the road.
Traveling late all the way through the night. Nothing but darkness on your left and right. But far ahead and high above there is a light. Tell me, what do you see? What do you feel? It makes no sound and you think this can't be real. But through the static the radio plays, two voices speak upon the airwaves. It's the Uncovering Anomalies podcast playing in your head. It's a brand new episode every week, that's what they say. Not sure now where you're going to, but no Adam and Topher will guide you. Tune in every week for a new sneak peek into conspiracies, aliens, and government leaks. UAP, the podcast, where the truth is told and secrets never last.
All right,
All
Mr.
right.
Topher. We are live. Well,
Nice.
not really.
We're semi-live.
Yes, semi-live. I was thinking,
Mhm.
so would we like to make a song every month or every week. Yeah, every month would make sense, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, every month is doable for sure.
And what do you use again? Sonar or not sonar? Sonus.
Suna.
Suno.
Is it Suna? Hold on, I'm opening my phone right now to
Yeah,
check.
I
It
think
is Suna.
Chupacabra. Yeah,
That's
Chupacabra uses that too for his videos.
SUNO.
They're so good. It's just crazy how
I
good
mean,
they
it's
are.
just incredible the way technology is advancing.
I
Um,
know.
it's going to be, weird in 10, 15 years for people who are like trying to break into the music field, like become a musician or have a band, because it's all going to be replaced,
Yeah, it's all gonna be AI.
and eventually it'll be TV shows and movies as well. I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah, it looks like it. Hollywood's probably going to go, and people who just are in their living rooms, with a laptop, can sit there and make a movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Ugh.
oh no. First of all, oh no, Hollywood's going away.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know,
gee,
right? Yeah,
darn. But
yeah,
I mean, I've been watching a lot of YouTube over the last like year or so, and there are so many creative, funny people on there that are so much better at writing and
yeah,
directing and making things. They do it better than Hollywood does,
yeah.
and
And
it's
it
so
seems all
funny.
these paradigms are crumbling anyway, whether they're trying to
Mhm.
stop it or not. It's like the old media is definitely becoming the new media because they've moved into that. You can see the old media is moving into this new media, trying to control it.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they like remember when you had to buy like cable packages for watching television.
Yep.
Now they're doing the same thing for online content. So you pay, like you can pay
Oh,
like Amazon, for instance, and you can get access to different channels. And it's like, so what the hell? We took a step
same thing.
backwards there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the same thing.
exactly. Yeah, and you're paying just for each one separately, and then when you combine them, it's the same. It's the same cost. They get you.
Yeah.
They get you anyway. So a lot to get to this week
Oh
when it
yeah.
comes to disclosure and UAPs and this guy. So Corbell is back on the scene, and him and
Great.
Nap.
We need
So
we need more Cora Bill in our lives.
yes, we do. Mathew Brown. This is the Immaculate Constellation guy. If you remember, during the hearings, was it last
Yeah.
year or a few months ago? They presented to Congress evidence of a program, that was part of the executive branch in the DoD called the Immaculate Constellation that was gathering using all of our sensors, so satellites, anything in the ocean, and using all those sensors, bringing in data on UAP to one central location to look at these things, and that was Immaculate Constellation. This guy, Mathew Brown, stumbled on this in the DoD Pentagon servers, and he did an interview with Corbell and Knapp. He's the real deal. I feel like he's got the credentials. He's been there for a while. You can tell he's like scared. He talks
Mhm.
about him scared of being executed, even coming out with this stuff, because he does say some crazy things here.
Very cool. Let's dive into it.
All right. So his name is Mathew Brown.
Well, if it was just technology that we are worried about protecting and maintaining a military advantage, there's strong arguments to be made and have successfully been made for decades in this country that the American leadership and American people seem to be finding acceptable to be left in the dark about where science, technology, and their military is taking them. This isn't just technology. This isn't something somebody came up with in a lab and it's sensitive because once the cat's out of the bag, anybody can do it. Fundamentally, this comes from and is secondary to what we've been told is the biggest question, which is humanity alone? The answer is no. And the secrecy that has been defended is at the cost of, in my mind, human dignity, freedom, and progress. And it is no longer permissible or acceptable in my mind to continue this course, to deprive another generation of not just Americans, but humanity of their birthright to know who they are, where they came from, and what's with us. Could you give us a
Powerful, man, right? I mean, these are the type of
Oh,
people we want and we need and want in government, but these are the ones they don't want in government.
yeah, no, absolutely. I concur with you 100%. These are the type of people we need, and yeah, you're right. This is the type that the government hates and actively looks to destroy.
Exactly, and what he's saying is like, we shouldn't talk about technical aspects and the technology, fine, but like this whole core secret of that we're not alone, that cannot still be hidden, especially from this coming generation. I mean,
It's a really weird hill to die on. The government
yeah,
doesn't have to come out and say, "Oh, we've got all this technology. Technically, we don't need fuel anymore. We don't need power plants or anything like that." But they could just come out and say, "Yes, we have information that leads us to believe that there is other intelligent life in the universe." I mean,
right, and that would be,
it's not
yeah.
that big of a statement, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and you'll see later on, they're still pushing, trying to say that it's going to be such a shock to the system, and you know what? Fine, let it burn, right? I guess we need a new one. We need something new out of the ashes.
But that's what I'm saying. If the government just comes out and says aliens are real, how does that burn down any system? People would
I
just
don't know.
like most people just be like, "Oh, neat."
Yeah.
If
Well,
that's all they said in a vacuum statement,
right.
they just said,
That they're real.
yeah, that's it.
Right. Yeah.
That's all they release. I don't
Do you
understand how
think?
that burns down any system.
What if they say we've had crash retrievals, we have bodies, and we are
But
reverse engineering?
that's my argument.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff may make some tremors, I'll call them that, in the world, but just the statement aliens exist, I mean, most of us already believe in aliens anyway, so
Yeah, 60%, I think, if
yeah.
not more. Yeah.
And it's
So,
we talked about Catholicism last week. Even the Pope said he would
mhm.
he would baptize an alien. Not that they would want that, but just
He
the
did.
fact that the Catholic Church is willing to recognize that aliens exist, I think is a pretty good indicator that that is not groundbreaking information.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones who care, obviously, are the ones who are on top of the power structure, right? Who want to remain on the power structure, and who want to be known as, the top dogs. And if this comes out, then they're not the top dogs anymore. There's someone who's more advanced than them, maybe older, even with a more ancient history, more
So
technologically advanced.
do you think it's like an ego thing?
Kind of, or just they don't.
They
They
don't-
always.
They're not willing to give up
competition.
their power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and what they've created around them to protect that power, forever, basically, the wealth and power.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. I buy that.
And yeah, so let's see what else he says.
The general description of the size of the secrecy apparatus. We're going to drill down into this, of course, about IMCON, in one particular facet of the secrecy that you came across and other parts of it. But how big of a secrecy apparatus is it? How many stovepipes are there? How many people are involved in different ways of keeping this secret, confusing the public, lying to Congress, lying to the world?
Simply put, it's a parallel reality. The secrecy apparatus is all pervasive. It is not just in the intelligence community governing their world. It's not just in the military protecting their operations. It's not protecting our diplomats and leaders as they conduct their work, sometimes in very dangerous places. It has been allowed to corrupt and infest every aspect of our society to serve the interests and whims of a very elite, select few.
And it's been used to intimidate, threaten, destroy the lives of people like yourselves who have been doing their job, keeping their oaths, trying to protect their country, being true to humanity, and have paid praises for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this on the show too. It is there to protect, and we just said it right now, to protect a small elite few. That's it. It's just, and what are they scared of? I mean, who are these elite few then? I mean, just say that they are human. All right.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, what are they? Are they in charge of the military, for example? So, say like the president can say, "Go arrest these people," and send in like a platoon or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about that too. Actually, who's making that decision in the in the government where they go, okay, this person knows too much and go shut them up. Like,
Right.
who gets to make that decision? It can't be the elites at the top because they're at the top. They get other people to do the dirty work for them.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Man, I guess it's just a matter of, bureaucracy. You work your way up the ladder and
Yeah, and
all
maybe
that,
they
and eventually
yeah.
you're put in a position where the president comes directly to you and says, "Hey, this person is speaking out. They need to be hushed."
Yeah, so it might be like just a filtering process where they really pick who, and yes, they probably do that. They pick who's going to be in the organization, but they probably go through so many different tests and polygraph tests and psychological tests where they know this person is going to protect the system, instead of the Constitution or the people, and looking out
Mhm.
for that system instead of the Republic. He said it's a parallel reality.
Or they get these people on an island with a bunch of children, film what
Yes.
happens, and use it as blackmail.
Oh my God! Yeah, it all gets together exactly, and that's going to be in the show as well.
Oh,
You're
good.
so right, because something just came out with Kash Patel, dude. You're going to be so upset.
Oh
And
man, I'm so excited.
so let's see what else I want to see where he talks about the actual who he thinks is behind it and what it is.
Has a long historic involvement in this. So does our intelligence community and our
Here we go.
scientific academic community. We have, as a country, allowed ourselves to be penetrated, co-opted, and corrupted by an internationalist force that serves their interests and views nations, peoples as tools and means to an end.
Like a business cabal.
Oh wait,
All international corporations that have no loyalty to any nation, let alone this one.
That's a large part of it. I think we have to go above that too to start to explain the degree of the level of deception and the level of commitment they've had to maintaining that deception. It's above just monetary gain and power. They're afraid.
George and I have talked about.
No, I mean, just to unpack that is nuts. So it's an internationalist group that doesn't care about any nation, all right, and they just use nations as a means to an end.
Like
who is
BlackRock.
that? Yes, yeah. Well, BlackRock is monetary, but yeah, BlackRock does do that. You're right. I mean, it's not just monetary. They try to, like, when they started doing the whole woke stuff. Remember, they went into the corporate boards and they started pushing DEI and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and didn't they just get approval? Maybe not just, but got approval to like help rebuild part of Ukraine.
yes, exactly. They got
So
the
they're
Sovereign Wealth Fund.
They're definitely international, and
Yeah,
their interests are not strictly corporate because of, just like you pointed out, the DEI and all the woke stuff that penetrated every aspect of our society. Oh my God.
yeah, and white guilt, and that was just disgusting what they did. And the corporations had to go on board because they were on the board of every single one of these
Yes.
corporations.
Yeah.
And basically forced them to do it. But and this ties in with another international group that just uses us as their military to go in and do whatever it wants to their enemies. Although there's been, did you hear about Mike Waltz? This is not really off topic, but Mike Waltz got fired. Trump fired him, and he said he fired him because he was working for another country and not the United States. And he's talking about Israel.
Yeah, of course. What other country would we be talking about?
Just
Well-
in case we have some listeners that don't know.
I mean, good on Trump for doing that, I suppose.
Yeah,
But it's not like our whole government's been,
Co-opted.
co-opted by the Israeli government.
Yeah, I mean, Mathew Brown said it here too. It's like we allowed our government to be co-opted and penetrated and to be used, and the amount of commitment they have, and it is insane. The commitment is just nuts.
Yeah, it really is something.
So I fear for this guy's life, man. I mean, him coming out and saying these things. He's not overtly saying who it is, but he's telling us that there's a structure behind this, which is extremely powerful.
I think you're right. I think what they're going to do first, like they always do, is they're going to release stories about him being a wife beater or a drug addict or something.
Yeah,
And then
you're right.
they'll start releasing rumors like that, and then if he still keeps talking the way he's talking, then he'll die in a car accident, like that one journalist I can never remember the name of, whose car sped off and exploded.
Yeah. I forgot his name too. With the I just know it was a Mercedes, and that they just they took control of his car and it hit like something that killed him. Even Mercedes was shocked and they wanted to do an investigation and they were blocked from doing an investigation, of course.
I don't even remember what, like, he got killed for knowing information about a top U.S. general.
A general.
I don't even remember what the information was.
It never came out. He said he was going to release it that week.
Well, the general's probably partying on Epstein Island.
I think it was Petraeus.
Was
to
it?
be honest, yeah.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
want to. Yeah, but I'm not sure. So let's see what Mathew else he says. Now people are having issues with this, obviously, because it's Corbell Knapp, right? People have issues with him anyway. But they're saying that this is a 3-part series. So they're saying, why do a 3-part series? Why not just? They're saying, why are you milking it? Why are you trying to get basically views and content marketing? And
well, because Corbell's involved.
There you go. Exactly. We're gonna try to not have him in here so much.
And learning over time, not just from the intelligence, but the experiences of the people around you, because not everything that's true and has happened in the world is written down on paper.
I mean, you're given a lot of roles and responsibilities that gives you access to very sensitive information. When you said SCI, that's secret compartmentalized information is the acronym.
Sensitive compartmentalized information.
Yeah, it's probably right.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you are a sane human being. You're given a lot of these responsibilities. I just think it's important for people to understand. So you have access to very critical information through the United States government. They're separate from the UFOs and the alien, topic that we're going to talk about.
For the world.
For the world.
The U.S. and the world.
Yes.
And that weighs heavy on you, I'm sure. Like you're really looking to defend the United States of America where you live, and you are looking at information that is just highly sensitive. I think it's important for people to know. Good people like you doing great jobs in there. You had access and responsibilities. People trust you. That's you can't get there without that.
It is it's a very burdensome role. I feel deeply for the people who have been there for many years. There's a lot of hidden suffering that comes from it, but it is I thought it was a noble and good mission. I still do.
And risks. I imagine there's all kinds of information that comes across your desk and that desk of other people you're working with at that point about weapons of mass destruction, the movement of.
What Corbell needs to do is put chapters in his videos, so we can.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful.
Come on, Corbell, get with the program.
We do it. We've got chapters on our show.
Yeah, we don't do timestamps. I wonder if AI can help with that.
Yeah, probably.
That'd be super helpful. Let's see.
Or under the water, or right in front of you.
You're not getting a job at the Pentagon until you want to get access to the UFO scene.
No. When I joined,
so they go through they wouldn't have to do that here, but they basically go through his career, how he ended up at the Pentagon, what he did, to go there, which is important for his credibility, which is for his credibility. But for us, we need to get the sound bites,
the meat and potatoes.
Mm-hmm. But from what it sounds like, people got a conversation with their leadership and were told as much as we've just gone over. And his name was absolutely, in the first-hand experience, sort of radioactive in the chat rooms. It would either, all of a sudden, these people that never participate are there really slamming him and slamming the people talking about him.
Sorry, they're talking about Grush here. So apparently they're really upset that Grush came out as a whistleblower within the DOD and the Pentagon. And they're saying here that if you even mention his name, you get in trouble. Just the mentioning of his name. Yeah. Hopefully after this, he talks about Kirkpatrick. It's a really good one.
Oh, good. Okay.
On the classified internet.
Indeed.
Our space is one we've talked about a bunch, but these where people had open dialogue, it just got to clamp down. And his name was part of that. That's what you meant when you said certain people are radioactive. You can't mention their names.
Right.
Okay.
Clueless.
And good, yeah. We're nuclear.
Yeah.
He's radioactive.
Okay.
Different designation. Yeah.
So you're seeing these videos and some limited discussion. You can't really openly talk about it, but you're curious. You're kind of hooked on the topic.
Yeah, and to be clear, 2018 when this first exposure happened, and for about a few years after, it was.
Yeah.
These chat rooms sound a lot like Reddit and the most, I don't know, since 2016, essentially, when Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just tell comments, you make a a genuinely normal comment, and it gets derailed by a bunch of people who, when you look at their profiles, they've only posted 1 or 2 times in the last 10 years they've had that account. It's astroturfing, and it sounds like they're doing the same thing, in these secret Pentagon chat rooms, which is crazy to me that this style of attacking the truth, is just so widespread.
Good point. Yeah. So
he was just saying a bunch of people who don't really participate in the chats were coming out and being very aggressive, and it's just like, that's not normal behavior. And
no, it's not.
You either are being told to do that or it's being done for you.
Yep. Yeah. It's manufactured consent. So they're trying to influence even the people like him on the inside, how to behave and how to think, and they apply that to us, just like on Reddit, just like on X or Facebook, all these platforms where they try to manufacture consent. Yeah, these accounts come out of nowhere and all of a sudden have an opinion, a very strong opinion about what's happening in the world.
But I mean, it's even, it's the same type of stuff that you see on TV. I remember I was texting you, we probably even talked about it on the show, about all the UFO commercials we saw during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they were all, goofy, and I feel like they all made the aliens look dumb.
As usual. Right. Yeah. We're not the dumb ones. They are.
Yeah. But it's just that same manufactured consent or manufactured narrative.
Yeah. Approved narratives. Well, we'll see. I mean, when we'll see later, like, it's the guys that they've used to control it, they're being called out now. And the people who called them out in the beginning were correct.
It did at least feel more open. Looking back on it, this was probably a counterintelligence prerogative at the time.
There you go, Topher, a good one. He just did it. He just said it. Nice.
Yeah.
But it was allowed to exist. The discussion was allowed to exist, and it felt more like, people were excited to finally actually be able to talk about this and finally be able to try to compare notes, figure it out.
Well, it's when the UAP task force was created. They didn't call it that, but it was up and running, and they were trying to make entreaties out to the intelligence community and DOD. Hey, they wanted input from and partners.
So I saw that emerge, and I saw it die.
Mm-hmm. And when you say exposure, we're going to get into this, but you mean technically it's called spillage. It's when you see something that is of a compartmentalized or nature that you are not specifically cleared to see, and you were exposed to something, and it was like, holy shit, what is this?
And how does Corbell know that?
I'm interested in.
What?
How does Corbell know what spillage is? He's a CIA plant.
Right. I mean, so in a way, he's kind of controlling it, right? I don't know what his angle is yet, right? I guess it's his angle, like, we still don't know what it is, kind of thing. We don't have these because he's never said that we have the technologies, that these UFOs are human-made, or some at least are human. I don't think I've heard him say that.
I think Corbell is just there to be the face of the UFO thing. So when the truth gets out, he can be the guy who's like, oh, that's not really the truth. Here's the truth. And he'll have credibility because he's been seen as the face of the UFO community, even though that's not really true.
Right. Exactly. So there's no filter on it.
Yeah. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm, wrong, and Corbell is 100% on the level. It's just, our experience is going to go see his movie and seeing how he is he pushes himself into the spotlight.
Always.
Like even this. Yeah. Like if CBS or CNN or 60 Minutes or whatever did an interview like this, it'd be him, this James Brown. Mathew Brown. I think James Brown's a singer. Mathew Brown would just be sitting in front of a camera telling this. It wouldn't be a full-on conversation with Corbell and, oh my God, with names. George Knapp. Thank you. It wouldn't be a conversation. It would be a different style of interview. But
correct. Yeah, we have 3 cameras on here.
But because Corbell is Corbell, he needs to be included in whatever is going on.
That's so true. I mean, that'll always be the truth with him. Now, is he helping push us along? Yes, right. We're not saying that he doesn't have a role here.
Or if he is CIA, he's pushing it down, a narrative path. So
Yeah.
the government can come out later and say, "Oh, we didn't know anything about that. We didn't do anything with that."
I mean, they might have different narrative paths. Like Elizondo might be one. He's another one. Like just in case one fails, the other one.
Yeah.
They just want the herd or the people to be somewhere that they control.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like the government doesn't have enough money to spend on idiots who like getting in front of a camera.
Exactly.
They're sorting them to our offices, part of that server, or putting them in their own box to be sorted by other responsible jobs. I mean, this is more like volunteer duty, but yes.
So because you're a workaholic and you're curious and you read a lot, you come across a file that really is what leads us to being here today. It's the Shriver file.
Yeah, so it was labeled 2018 Shriver War Game. Might have been brief or something else, but that's it. There's nothing about that screams, it's a very interesting thing. In fact, usually a lot of war game briefs are pretty boring. So there's nothing that stood out about it.
Accidental exposure for you.
100%.
You go into it, and what do you see?
Well, here's a question before we get into this. So he said he found it in a war game, or on the server. It was a war game thing. Now, aren't war games fictional?
Right? Yeah, I was kind of curious about that myself, because I always thought war games were used as like a what if scenario.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
they even I think they have a war game with. I remember reading this. It was for a zombie apocalypse. Obviously, that's not going to happen, and the military is just going to be. They do this anyway, just to
Prepared.
have plans. Yeah, for anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like the day before 9/11, they had a bunch of troops running around on the ground in New York City.
Right.
So there is precedence there for it to be taken a little bit more seriously, but
That's true. Yeah, on 9/11, actually, you're right. There were so many war games, and one of them was actually what actually happened, but it went live, and the people who were involved, like, wait a minute, is this live?
Right. I remember that was a big part of the confusion, is nobody knew if it was fake
Yeah.
or real.
Exactly.
That is an interesting point, because as far as my understanding, war games are supposed to be just what if scenarios. So it's weird.
So it's important to keep that in mind, right?
Yeah.
Before listening to this. Yeah.
There's just a generic title slide. There's a banner without classification markings that just says Immaculate Constellation. And it has a placeholder slide that shows like the Shriver Shriver Air Base logo and some logos of the units involved. But at that time, I believe it would have still been like Air Force Space Command adjacent. So still nothing particularly stunning. I think the name at the top, probably just the name of the exercise. So the next slide, though, is where it gets interesting, because the face of Lue Elizondo is on that next slide. And I was not who I was expecting to see. And it was accompanied by text to summarize. Please have some grace with me. It's been 7 years, but it was saying that Immaculate Constellation is an unacknowledged special access program established after the exposure of ATIP in 2017 by former USDI officer Lue Elizondo. And that's the gist of that first slide. And so I'm looking at that, and nothing particularly convincing that that's alien related or what the SAP is or what it's doing. So I don't know what to make of this. So I read the whole thing, and it got very interesting very quick.
So it's designated a SAP. This is a SAP. It's sitting on a server.
It's exactly the tone of those words of that slide. That's the implied order of events that led to being established.
So it's like 2018, maybe.
Yeah, the file was at least last accessed in 2018. I can't remember if it did say, the file creation date, or if I looked it up, but I know it was last accessed.
Can you see who's accessed it prior to you?
I can.
And what did you see?
So everyone says that I'm wrong, it's impossible, but the name I recalled at the time thinking, oh, that's odd, was
name redacted.
And did you know who that was?
Vaguely at that time. People are considered.
I know, right? He's got to do that name redacted.
I had my mic muted, but as soon as it said name redacted, I went, no.
Of course, yeah.
They're superstars
Who do
in
you think it
leadership
is?
circles. So you just
Huh?
Who do you think it is? Who do you think the name?
I don't know. He does mention someone here, but yeah, why would it be redacted? Then it's someone big.
Well, they can put
Right?
it into part 2.
Yeah. I mean, he did say it's a superstar that everyone knows this person.
Okay.
I know. Dude, it's so frustrating. Like, name names. If you're a whistleblower. That's what it
Yeah.
means. But
Blow
I
your
mean,
whistle, buddy.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like it was on him. It seems like this is a Cora Bell
Agreed.
decision.
Yep. Good point.
just hear names like that. And that's
Why-
what her name was.
Why would that be impossible? Why are people now in retrospect? Why are people telling you that would be impossible?
It's a she.
Oh, she wasn't at the Pentagon then.
Mm-hmm.
Clinton?
Where was she?
She was at the Pentagon, to my knowledge, but they're saying she wasn't there.
Right.
All right, wait a minute. So I don't know what Clinton, because he said Pentagon. So it's someone in the Pentagon that's a lady. I mean, it's not Susan Go that everyone talks about. That was like, supposedly the handler of like Kirkpatrick and whoever's at Arrow, right? Susan.
It's got to
Go.
be the Hill Dog.
Yeah, I guess so, huh? I mean, who else would you be scared of?
Right, exactly. And like
I mean-
superstar in politics, female.
Yeah.
There's one name that goes, that's at the very top.
And she's always been interested with this. I mean, there was pictures with her when she was running for president, meeting with Rockefeller, and they took pictures of it. And she was holding a book while walking with him. I forget which Rockefeller.
And Bill was obsessed with UFOs.
Yeah, and they never gave him the access. They never gave him the need to know.
So they say.
Right. Apparently, that's what he says. And he's really intertwined with Epstein too. Huge Clinton,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting. And
So,
Yeah.
So
all
is
right,
Trump,
so
though, to be
Shriver War Games.
Wait, sorry.
I said so is Trump, though, to be fair.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
You keep reading. There's a big slide with Lue Elizondo's face on it. What comes next? I mean, you get a sense that I shouldn't be able to read this here.
No, not yet, actually. To be clear, at that point in time, I had no formal training in what SAPs were. There was no SAP marking on this, just a name, Immaculate Constellation. The opening slide, just we would call it improperly labeled, improperly classified.
What was it? What did it show?
So the next slide, the third slide about, just jumps straight into the mission of the SAP and showing what apparently the results of that mission are. And it's a collection incident in the Pacific Ocean. The subject of collection is several Russian naval intelligence vessels in the middle of the ocean at night. And above those vessels is a large black triangle floating in the air. This is a still image, but it is color.
okay, so that's the first kind of event.
Whoa. So they were watching a Russian fleet, and there was a black triangle over the Russian fleet, and it's a color image.
So they're actually okay. So hear me out on this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that photo that came out a few years ago? I don't even think it was a photo. I think it was a video of that black pyramid hovering over Moscow.
Yeah, yes. It was like, but it was like translucent. It wasn't too obvious. That one, right? Where
Yes.
and it's from different angles as well.
Yes.
It was like tumbling slowly,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, I remember that one.
I wonder if that's either the same thing or it's related, because that black pyramid or triangle, I mean, we've covered it on the show plenty of times.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that common in terms of UFO sightings, but it's common enough where it has its own article on Bibliotheca
Yeah.
Pleiades or whatever the hell it's called. So I mean, it's not a completely unknown thing. That's wild.
yeah, and those are the ominous ones, right? For some reason, the black triangle.
Oh, they're the
very
scariest.
ominous. Yeah,
Still, one of the scariest videos I've seen is one we put on the show when I think we had Kay on, where it's the guy
yeah.
filming the triangle UFO from outside of his window, and you can tell he's really freaked out. I even thinking about that, I get freaked out.
I have it saved on my computer. That one is just something else. It's just sitting there, right?
And it feels like it's staring at you. It's
Yeah.
the weirdest feeling I get when I watch that video.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, So he's thinking here either the Russians know when this thing shows up, and we did obviously if we took a picture of it.
Yeah.
So maybe these things do emit something before coming out, which we'll cover too. WikiLeaks apparently have something about this where they emit a frequency range before emerging from the ocean.
Well, wait, did we cover that last week, or was it just when I saw you for Easter? You had the audio file to play.
Yeah, we did. I think we covered it. Yeah, maybe last week.
Okay.
The UFO dog whistle or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But what was the mission? What was the mission? That's what people want to know, is what was the mission of Immaculate Constellation as described in the product?
So in the product itself, you had to piece together the mission by reading the whole thing and kind of putting together the parts. It never spelled out fully, like as it should, the mission of the SAP. And I assume that's because this is a type of brief where there will be inserts to the deck, which would be inserted by the SAP control officer during the briefing that would provide another level of detail. But based on the information included in there and its description, the mission becomes apparent, and that is a bare minimum. It's the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission of a global nature for UAPs and RVs, ARVs. The hesitation there is some time has passed. One of those acronyms is in there, either RV or ARV, and that is how the triangle in this case was labeled.
An ARV. So we've heard this before in the in UFO lore, right? Alien reproductive vehicle, or
is that what it stands for?
Yeah, I mean, at least in the UFO community. So who knows? I mean, would the DoD use that as well, or would it be a automatic recovery vehicle, or what else would it be?
I thought you said reproductive vehicle, alien reproductive vehicle.
Alien reproduction. Sorry, something like that. Reproduction vehicle. Where we've reverse engineered an alien craft, but it's human made, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. What do you?
Yeah.
Sorry. What do you think the odds are that the U.S. is working with other countries besides Israel on this?
I think it's Israel. Yeah, you're right. So I think Russia has its own program, China has its own program, and then we have it with Israel.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You don't think we're working with the UK or
you're
Canada
right,
or something?
Yeah,
I'm just curious. Like
actually, the Five Eyes. Yeah, the Five Eyes. There is an agreement, which it goes back to the 1950s, where we share intelligence and anything military advancements. We share with all the Five Eyes, which Israel is part of. So, what is that? It's Canada, Australia, UK, New Zealand, and South Africa. Those are the Five Eyes.
Interesting.
Australia,
I guess I understand. New Zealand, well, man.
I guess this is English-speaking country. It's like basically the old British Empire.
Sure.
Right.
Well, it makes sense. Why all these billionaires are buying places in New Zealand. If that's truly the case, if they're all really connected.
Right. Yeah.
Man, it is so cold. I had to put socks on during that last portion of the video.
I'm wearing a beanie. I might have to put socks on.
Thank God. Well, I was going to say, never mind.
All right, so this is wrapping up. I hopefully it gets to the Kirkpatrick one. It's amazing. Of course, Kirkpatrick said it's complete BS, but we're not going to believe that.
Huge shocker there.
Yeah, right.
Patrick, more like fart Patrick.
7 years. So as you're reading through this and that you're remembering RV or ARV just for our audience. So RV is reverse
reproduction
vehicle.
Yeah.
And ARV would mean alien.
So alien. Yeah. So I don't know if ARV is alien reproduction vehicle, which means that triangle.
Right.
They're saying it's alien.
Good memory. I know I've seen that acronym a lot, but I could not for the life of me.
Yeah. Is that one documentary? And that guy who committed suicide supposedly before the hearings, he was big on the ARV. That story about it was at an air show and these generals were telling people about these UFOs behind them. They called them ARVs, that the reverse engineers. Sometime in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
That wasn't the guy that. Man, I'm so sorry. I'm so freaking bad with names.
I get it.
who was the UFO researcher who he was a government plant and he essentially forced the guy to commit suicide?
Doty.
Doty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't that guy, right? The guy that
No, not that guy. McCandish or Mark McCandish or McClandish, something like that. McCandlish. That guy.
Yeah, it wasn't that guy, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
And
Anomalous reproduction.
we see people in the literature say alien reproduction vehicle. It could just be anomalous
Advanced.
vehicle or advanced. It could be anything that can go after A.
So you don't know what that is, but
I don't.
this is a pretty interesting image here.
It is. And then the text that accompanies it describes the incident.
And what can you tell us?
Yeah, the summary of that is just how it unfolded. I should actually back up and say the image itself was unique. This isn't by a plane or a satellite. It looks to be a image pretty close to the waterline. So something that to me read is we have a clandestine submersible asset close by this fleet, and it's taking pictures, trying to stay unnoticed. And so, yes, in the description, it basically lays out what occurred that night, which was that our collection assets were there in area monitoring Russian naval vessels. Not sure what they're doing there, but they've been hanging out in the middle of the ocean in this place apparently for a few days. Keep an eye on them. And this night, while they are observing the Russian vessels, a large black triangle materializes or decloaks or something. The point is it did not move. It appeared directly above these ships, probably no more than 200 meters, pretty close. And interestingly, as noted in the report itself, there was no visible reaction from these vessels from what would almost certainly be considered a hostile approach.
What do you take away from that? They didn't notice it, or they're not upset about it, or they don't know what to do with it, or what?
So the implication also in the text describing it was, the analysis in the text was that the Russian Navy had foreknowledge that this vehicle would appear in that area of the ocean, and they were there specifically to either collect on it themselves or to interact with it in some way.
Any indication that it might be theirs, that they knew it's going to be there because they control it?
Not in that document. And I haven't seen anything to make me think that they controlled that particular craft, but didn't see anything to the contrary either.
I guess it could be that they've seen it before, that there's nothing they can do about it, so don't get excited about it.
Might be, although it is interesting, if it's something that's part of their environment, as it were, why are they making an effort to be in this space at this time to collect on something they already know about?
Is it like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's off the coast of Kamchatka, as I recall, in the Pacific Ocean.
That's what struck me. I mean, my mind goes
out in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere, he said, in the Pacific Ocean. So, and these are the Russians doing this.
Yeah, wow.
It's not just us, man.
Well,
just to observe, huh? I mean, is it like giving homage or something? Like going to the gods kind of thing.
I mean,
like hello.
To be fair, if you knew something like this was going to show up as a military person, you'd be like, "Oh, we need to get on top of this," right? Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think so?
Of course.
I mean, it sounds like the only reason the U.S. wasn't sitting underneath that thing is that the Russians got there first.
Yeah, we were there. We were there though. And that's
because right. That's where the picture came from. We were there.
Yeah. And that's probably why they're so pissed off at this guy too, because spilling the beans on that is not a joke.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe they know they're being watched. Who knows? I mean, if you are at Russia or the U.S., you're being watched by everyone else.
No, of course.
That's where the secrecy also comes in from. But this subject, how is that national security? That we are clandestinely, okay, or not, or Russia is overtly trying to contact these beings. Why would that be classified?
That's exactly what I stated like earlier in the podcast. I mean, right. I don't get it. I don't understand what's so classified about that. How is that earth shattering that you can't tell anyone?
I know it has to frustrating.
It has to be connected to something super, super serious.
Yeah.
Like
something that they don't want anyone just to keep asking, or to dig further.
Like maybe the aliens have made it clear that we're essentially like in their crosshairs, And if we make any sudden moves, they're going to shoot at us. I mean, that would make people panic.
That's true, and that our governments basically cannot protect us. That would make
Yeah.
people panic, right?
Right. I think so. It's got to be something like that,
Yeah.
which is a really scary thought.
I know, it does, because then people can't focus on day-to-day things if they think they can be invaded at any time.
Right.
But
Exactly.
they haven't invaded.
Well,
I mean,
because
well-
maybe we haven't made the wrong move yet. Whatever the wrong move is to a Martian, little green man from Mars. I mean,
Right.
maybe full out nuclear war is making the wrong move or something along those lines.
I
who
think
knows?
that's why they're so interested in nukes.
Yeah.
And turn them on and turn them off. Let's get to the Kirkpatrick stuff. I hope it wasn't before.
Goes to the idea that they were kind of camped out, deep kind of ocean in this one specific area durationally. It kind of implies to me, if I'm thinking outside the box here, there's some form of comms or communication with whoever the operators are of this craft. Am I going too far with that idea? Or?
I think it's a reasonable one to have, but it's not one that I can validate.
Yeah, let's be clear. You were exposed to something. We're just touching the basics here. We're theorizing. We're talking about a bunch of stuff we don't know, but the descriptions that you were exposed to kind of give you a little insight that we can at least look at some of those assumptions. Right.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm sure there's a literature out there that can help narrow down.
Mm-hmm.
So Immaculate Constellation, you've never heard this term before, and it doesn't give you the full picture there, but what other additional information did it give about what this was and how it operates?
Just describe the events and that analysis of the event of the Russians having foreknowledge to be there, and describing how the event occurred, as I just went over.
So this is a page turner. So you're interested.
Yeah, you're curious now.
Absolutely.
What do you do next? What do you
Go to the next page, and it was disappointing because we get into a couple slides of orbs, and I had already seen orbs at this point in an official setting.
So the next pages show orbs from different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the pattern is that under this Immaculate Constellation, they're gathering UAP images from all over the place.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the core of it, right?
Right.
Is the idea that we collect data on these UAP, and someone needs to bring them, collate them together to provide intel to who needs it. And we're assuming, or not assuming, it's been pretty laid out, the Immaculate Constellation was a kind of place to bring everything together to provide those briefings to senior leadership. Is that correct?
I don't know about to provide briefings, but definitely to collect data from the military intelligence enterprise specifically, and the sensors associated with that. And yes, to collect that data, centralize it, and have it there for presumably both analysis and operational needs.
Mm-hmm.
The Shriver War Games document with the images, 12 pages, 15 pages, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'd say 12 to 15, but probably more like 12.
And is that the only document you ever saw where the term Immaculate Constellation was used?
Until I wrote one, yeah.
We'll get into that, but instead of go through, people will be so curious.
Oh man, maybe the Kirkpatrick one is here, but anyway, the gist of it is that there was a meeting with Rubio and Kirkpatrick, and that he said that Kirkpatrick was making, when Rubio was asking him, Kirkpatrick was making vague responses to him, but then it got into it, and then Rubio was like, "Are you telling me that the executive branch has been hiding from Congress for 60 years, a crash retrieval program?" So Rubio knows, and Kirkpatrick was covering it up there, but it's still, but Rubio wasn't falling for it. It's not like I like Rubio or anything, but
Right.
yeah.
It's maybe it's a poignant point to make. We don't like any politicians.
Right.
I hope we've made that clear throughout the duration of all of our episodes.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a good politician.
We can see a preview here of what's coming up, I guess, next week or this week.
Ay, caramba.
Looks serious. Yeah, you got to give it to Corbell. He's good at this. He's good at making these.
He's a marketing guy.
Yeah, totally.
So what comes on the fourth page? Talk us through the pages. Just go ahead.
On the next episode of Weaponized.
When I was in USDI, I
exactly. But this is good though.
read the transcripts of Sean Kirkpatrick briefing.
Oh, sorry. All right, so it's going to be the next episode, but they give us a little hint here.
Senator Rubio, Senator Warren, and Senator Gillibrand on the results of his investigation in his congressionally tasked Arrow report. I read these transcripts once and immediately knew that
Veiled threat?
No, I knew that I was now something else. I had inside knowledge into the deception of our government by elements of our intelligence community. My blood ran cold at a specific point in that transcript where Mr. Rubio is discussing the legacy program. This was a subject of direct discussion with Sean Kirkpatrick in these meetings. And based on Mr. Kirkpatrick's replies about as vague as they were, but unable to escape the truth of the legacy program, Mr. Rubio's response was, well, what the hell is the executive branch doing? Have they been running this for 60 years without congressional oversight? The process of Grush coming forward left a wake on the inside too. People were tracking that, weren't even involved, but were able to see sort of the distortions on the inside.
Distortions of truth.
Exactly, but also, bureaucracies and offices behaving weirdly. That was one of the moments that really started to convince me that this was not under our government's control.
It's not under our government's control.
Well, I think we knew that.
Yeah, I mean, we did. But it's nice to see, these proofs coming out from people like him, right?
Of
But
course.
people looking at this subject and researchers and researchers like us, that's the conclusion you come to. It's just not under our government's control. It's a higher power. It's way above that. It's something that's very powerful and that scares a lot of our politicians and people in the intelligence community.
Absolutely. I mean, and this is my fear about Corbell and Elizondo as well, is they're going to craft the narrative to say that it whatever this technology is under the U.S. government's control. If they are indeed, CIA or U.S. government plans, that's my biggest fear.
That's a good point.
Because they put themselves, in the front of the UFO community, essentially declared themselves, hey, we're the ones in charge, even though everyone
we're not.
Even though they're not. But
Right.
if they come out and say something like, the U.S. government has a handle on it, most people will believe them, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a good point. So it's good planning on their end, to always have something to fall back on. So
yeah, I mean, if
the internet. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, if disclosure is coming,
right,
that's how you would avoid, the pitfalls that come with that.
Exactly. Now, the great thing about the internet is that when these things come out, people just research, right? So this is nothing to do with Luis Elizondo. It was just Daniel Elizondo. So according to a DoD manual from 2012, IMCON, which is like basically Immaculate Constellation, is a dissemination control marking for controlled imagery, which is an interesting coincidence for 2012. And this is from NGA, the National Geospatial Association, I guess, or agency. And it's the IMCON material must be classified secret. However, if IMCON information is included in a paragraph containing top secret information, the appropriate classification would be top secret IMCON.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crazy coincidence there.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Can you imagine how stupid is our government? They go, this is secret. This is top secret. Just do one or the other. If something doesn't need to be a secret, don't make it a secret. If something needs to be a secret, make it a secret. Like, I don't get the stupidity there.
And then they have your eyes only, right?
Yeah.
Need to know.
You know so much, so we're going to give you clearance, but not enough clearance.
I know. They're obsessed with secrecy. Absolutely obsessed. Now, nothing's wrong with secrecy. The state should have we should have national secrets.
Yeah,
of course. Why add it to this subject? Why?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I theorized a little while ago, something bigger must be going on. It can't just be aliens are real, because everyone would be fine with that.
Yeah, so that maybe then there is an agenda with them, and what's
Yeah.
one of them at least, or one faction of them. There's something going on, right? Some cooperation going on.
Do you think? Sorry, I just had a really funny thought. Do you think the aliens fly around in UFOs on purpose to get seen? Like, oh, we want to hang out with the people, not the government.
Yeah, like the rebels,
Yeah,
like
I wanna
Rogue.
see- I
Yeah.
want to see the people. I want to know what they're doing. I don't care what Hillary Clinton eats for lunch. I want to hang out with this farmer, this random
yeah.
guy driving down a dirt road.
And then rein them in.
Yeah,
You know, like, what are you doing talking to just normal humans? There's
and then-
protocol here.
yeah. That's why everyone's so freaked out when they get abducted, and the aliens just go, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I thought this would be cool for you."
Dude, this comes up every single show. I'm like, are abductions still happening? And if they are, you know, where are the stories? And I keep forgetting to go finding them, because I remember there was one presentation like a few months ago about a guy who's in this field of research. He said that what are you guys talking about? It's still happening. You know, I need to find that interview and see if there's any.
I
new
think
ones.
there's just so much noise nowadays. You know, especially, you know, with the U.S. and the state that it's in, everyone's tariffs, and so that's what every single news site has on their front page, and these kind of things get pushed to the back where no one will scroll to it.
So much noise. Yeah, so much noise. So this is from WikiLeaks, and I remember I used to go through the WikiLeaks stuff to find anything with UFOs. So,
Who runs WikiLeaks now?
well, he's back, right? He's out of jail, so he's.
I thought he was just out of jail to come back to the U.S. Or no?
No,
They
he
wouldn't send
took a
him
plea
back.
deal. He took a plea deal. Remember, he pleaded guilty.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, and they let him go. So this here was found by Skeptic Believer on WikiLeaks, and it's related to Immaculate Constellation because it says he also claimed there was a specific electronic signature frequency emanating from them, the UFOs, when they were going into or coming out of the water. So they were easy to track. On several occasions, they filmed the UFO as it transitioned from water to air or vice versa.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's been people who've been abducted who've said the UFOs hum or had like a slight humming noise. It's an interesting note that, you know, the hum or the frequency in this case was, you know, when they were going in and out of the water. Huh.
And it would make sense too if they decloak or materialize that some disturbance would happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's so interesting that we know that this frequency is emanating. We know where it is, and we can go there quickly to see it. Crazy.
Well, maybe that's how the Russians found that giant triangle.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Most
Comes
likely.
full circle.
So also,
See, this one's broken into chapters.
Yes, this one is. This is much easier. So this is Catherine Austin Fitz. She was on Tucker Carlson. Catherine Austin Fitz is one of the first, or one of the preeminent, or the not first, but, you know, part of a group actually that's been studying, but she studies it from a different angle, the financing of a breakaway civilization. She was under Secretary of HUD during the Bush administration.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows how they are laundering money to finance deep underground military bases. She even says like bases on the moon and Mars, and but she doesn't say exactly that here with Tucker, but she's talking about this in the past.
Sure.
She has, and this is well known. You can go there to her website, Solari Report, and she's documented $21 trillion missing, not like on our debts, completely missing. You know,
yeah. How much of that went missing on September 10th of 2001?
Yeah, 10% of that, right? 2.1 trillion or something like that. Yeah. So, and of course, Tucker's like, what? When she's talking about this, because she just talks about it normally. You know, here in this clip, she talks about the deep underground military bases.
You know, I don't agree with all of Tucker's views, but I appreciate him doing a show like this where he brings people on, and essentially a lot of them, feels like most of them, are talk about conspiracies. That's why I also like Joe Rogan. It's people who would never be given a platform on any real news channel. And so, and again, this is why news channels are dying and people don't like the news.
Look at this.
They because of this. It's great.
Look, Fatima behind him.
Oh yeah, look at what man. We are just all about coincidences on this podcast, huh?
That is crazy.
That is
Yeah.
crazy. Wow. Does he always? I don't watch him enough to know if he.
I
always
don't
has-
know. I haven't noticed it before. So that's weird. So just for everyone know, we did a deep dive into Fatima last week. Go watch that episode.
Very
I'll put it
fun.
into-
It made me feel bad about not knowing enough about Catholicism, even though I was really raised in the religion. But I still think it's a really fun, good episode. 3 kids saw an alien hovering above an oak tree, and they kept seeing
basically.
it.
Yep.
Very
And-
cool. And it's probably a projection. That was
Yeah,
my
and
takeaway from it.
And it's very close to the lady, basically, that Chris Bledsoe sees. And she also gave prophecies to these kids in Fatima, which she gives to Chris Bledsoe, apparently.
Very fun case out of Portugal.
Yeah. Was it 1917?
I think
think
it was
after-
1917.
Yeah, after World War One. So what's
Very-
crazy about that, she gave prophecies. I forget what the first one is, but the second one is that if Russia doesn't become Christian, that's the end of the world. Now we can see that Russia has gone back to its Christian roots. It's an Orthodox Christian country now. It's not communist. It's not Soviet Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of has saved. I'm going to say this, but COVID was a very, very dark time, and it was taking us somewhere extremely dangerous. And if it wasn't for the war in Ukraine, to let the deep state shift focus, it's like Sauron's eye, when
I
it
know.
shifts.
Yeah.
And Yep, and I just went to Ukraine, and that's it. That we had no more mask mandates, no more jab mandates. All that was gone, So I'm linking it, but it's probably no link there. But
So we had a rule at work: if you weren't vaccinated, you couldn't take off your mask at any time. And eventually, I just stopped wearing the mask, and no one said anything. So I just went, "Oh, okay, cool."
You gotta love that. It's on paper, and no one cares really. Yeah.
Well, for the first 2 weeks, I mean, no, it was longer than that because the vaccines took forever to come out.
Yeah.
For the first couple months, I definitely had a mask on for most of the time. But
Oh yeah.
as soon as people started being able to take them off around my office, I just stopped wearing mine, and nobody said anything or asked for my proof of vaccination. So I was like, all right, well, cool.
So cool, man. I'm glad that happened with you, that you didn't do it.
Yeah, I'm really glad too. My whole family got it, and my whole family's gotten sick from it. So
I know. It sucks. Totally sucks. All right, so here's Catherine Austin Fitz. She's talking about the deep military underground military bases, which is in UFO lore. All those guys who what's his name? Who lost his arm? Damn it, Schneider.
yeah, is it Phil Schneider?
Phil Schneider or Dan Schneider? Yeah, maybe Phil Schneider.
I think Dan Schneider is an actor.
And they talked about the transportation system under there, and that there's a form of energy. Basically, they're like this light under there. They don't know where it's emanating from, but
Oh wait, didn't we cover this on the deep dive about the underground base?
Which one?
Dulce.
Dulce. Oh wait, did we do it? Hey, that'll be a good one. I don't think we've done Dulce. I have to check.
We've talked. I think we have
Yes, I
2
mean we've
years
talked
ago.
about it. Yeah, we've talked. We've never done a complete deep dive into Dulce.
I mean, there's a
Or maybe
great
we-
book that's probably 95% fiction. The Wars under Dulce Base or whatever it's called. I read
Yeah.
it once a couple years ago, and it's fun, but most likely fake. But this Dulce is an supposed underground base
Supposedly.
that has aliens and stuff walking around in
Yeah.
there.
Right, New Mexico, right?
Yes. The point I'm trying to make is that probably 95% of the story is bullshit, but the one that the 5% that's true is that there's an underground base there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's basically what Catherine Austin Fitz is saying, and that's where she thinks a lot of this money is going into building this. And this also comes after a clip where they talk about a pole shift or some cataclysm that's coming, and that's
That's really scary. You really freaked me out on Easter when you kept talking about tidal waves and stuff.
Oh, dude. I
I was
mean,
like,
if we don't, we just have to go to Colorado if we want to survive it, or just say fuck it, whatever. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah. You
The
just
next
go,
one.
you know what? I tried. It's over. I guess we'll see what happens next. And you just
Right.
you give
Hey,
the
man.
wave a big old hug. as it
Yes, we
crushes
are
you.
infinite beings, so nothing ends. I mean, we just go on. But obviously, I would love to be with everyone, obviously.
Yeah.
But if we some things you just can't control. If it's gonna be like a pole shift, what the hell can you do?
Yeah. exactly. You can move to Kansas, the direct center of the country, and build an underground bunker if you
Right.
have the money.
Yeah,
Or
but-
if you're
yeah.
like a billionaire, you go to New Zealand and build a house that's essentially a bunker.
That's what they're all doing. Yeah, Bezos is doing it. What's his name? Meta guy is doing it. Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
obviously something's happening.
Or you take your chances and you buy a house on the ocean side, and you just go, you know what? I want it to be quick, and here we go.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna have a first row seat.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Catherine Austin Fitz.
But I think that whether it's a pole shift, magnetic pole shift is one of the, theories of what causes these events. But there is a history of near extinction events. And one of the things that I've looked at, because I'm trying to figure out, between fiscal 1998 and fiscal 2015, there were 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.solera.com, we have years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where's all this money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
Yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So
in the United States,
pause just really quick. The last podcast on the left actually covers that in the Dulce episodes. They talk about how these underground tunnels and bases are actually well documented. It's not a conspiracy secret. It's just there's a bunch of companies that have boring plain websites that just say random things. And they're the owners of these giant drills, essentially, and they use them pretty frequently.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
It's
she's not just some random crackpot saying random stuff.
No,
She's right. I mean, it's well documented that these companies do this sort of thing.
It's so funny. He's like, "Excuse me."
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tucker, he's leaning into the conspiracy side a little bit more now, but he's still a straight-laced, proper Republican man.
Right. Yeah, he is. I mean, he says that aliens are just angels and demons. That's how he sees them.
Yeah.
Which is, through his religious.
That's why I said at the top, I don't always agree with everything he says.
Yeah, exactly.
in the United States, on all over the world. But from 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Solera Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. And then we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess. This is totally a guess of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170 with a transportation network connecting them.
And what would be the purpose?
Yeah.
The purpose, if you thought you were going to get a near extinction event, so there, to me, there are two purposes. You have so many activities going on that you need to keep secret, that you're basically building the capacity to, for example, if you're doing a secret space program, you need to platform it from, things that can't be seen. But I think if you're worried about a near extinction event, that's.
So I know nothing about this other than my only window into it. I knew a contractor who worked on one in Washington, in the city of Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I remember him telling me about a power box, like a transformer box on Constitution Avenue, that he told me, because he worked on it personally, was actually the exit, the egress from.
Nice.
What?
My guess was elevator, but it's stairs. I've heard. See, these are the kind of things you hear when you listen to a bunch of conspiracy podcasts and YouTube videos. You hear about these things a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and Tucker's is the contractor, right? That's telling Tucker what he worked on,
yeah,
which is it's not. I mean, but yeah, we hear these things throughout the years of
yes, we've
transportation
been,
systems, energy systems under there that that are way more advanced than what we have up here. To
and a
us
lot of
surface dwellers,
and a lot of us conspiracy theorists. I'm taking the term back. We've been reading, hearing, listening to stuff about stuff like this for many years before it
yeah,
gets mainstream on Tucker. You read
yeah.
about it in books, you hear about it through people talking,
Mhm.
podcasts, whatever. I mean, it's great. I'm glad that Tucker's covering this, but this isn't like new information.
Right, but could you imagine his audience? I would say 90%
Sure.
don't know about this stuff. They definitely don't know about Catherine Austin Fitz, but
Right.
they're going to know now. And she said secret space program, and he didn't push her on
Didn't
that.
didn't even flinch.
I thought he was going to say "excuse me" again.
So, I think we talked about this on the show when the movie first came out. Don't Look Up. You remember that movie?
Yeah, great.
Remember
movie.
how it ended?
They were in a cabin having dinner or something, right? And
So that is partially, yes,
yeah,
but all the rich people had had
yes,
secretly built a spaceship and they're flying to
they're
another
leaving.
planet or whatever.
Right, that was a funny movie.
Yeah. But I mean that's essentially what we're talking
Mhm.
about here. I mean, I know it's not the same thing. We're talking about underground
Same
bases and
concept.
tunnels, but it's the same concept.
Yeah.
And oh man, what was that? There was this
The one you didn't like?
No. Oh, that one. No, screw that movie. I'm not even gonna bring that up. No, there was like this action comedy movie about a British kid who becomes a spy. And
Huh.
at all the end, all of the political leaders agree to go into like a mountain in Switzerland or something. And
Why doesn't that ring a bell with me?
I'm sorry, folks. As I mentioned on the show before, I cannot remember names when there's a microphone in my face. As soon as we hit stop recording, I will remember it immediately.
Uh-huh.
But it's the same concept where all of the rich people and elites go into this base bunker in a Switzerland mountain or something like that, and they're hiding out. Kind of the apocalypse. It's not worth getting into, but I mean,
it brings credence to what people say about Atlantis,
yes,
and that the elite there hid and then resurfaced and restarted civilization.
yes, yeah. Our friend
With
over at
experience.
the Y-Files, AJ, I call him our friend, but neither one of us has ever spoken to him. But he has a great episode about that, the lost city of Atlantis, where it's because there's all these stories from these tribes around the world where they go, yeah, some white guy walked out of the water and taught us how to farm. And it's just like, what? How do you all have this same story along with the flood story?
Sumerians, same thing. Egyptians, same thing. Yeah. So maybe the next iteration would be, Americans resurfacing.
I doubt that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I love our country and I love our people, but we're 80-10-10, like I always say, and 80% of the people won't know how to lift a fork. Well, they'll know how to lift a fork. They won't know how to lift a log.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And that's what happens. That's why most of the population will perish in something like this.
Yeah.
White House. That was kind of by vehicle. I thought that was. I was like, really? He goes, oh yeah, no, I installed it. I know. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy that in the middle of this big city where I lived I was on Constitution Avenue every day, that you could build something like that without me knowing it. Under the VP's house at the Naval Observatory, same thing. I think most people know that. Next to my brother's house on Macomb Street in DC. But I always thought that was like preparation for nuclear war. Like I didn't really think about it that much.
Some of it is, it's preparation for catastrophe.
So, but you think that there are facilities like that in other places outside DC?
Oh, yeah. So if you're interested, we have a great interview. I did an interview of Richard Dolan on underground bases on the Solari Report, and it's sort of an introduction to the topic, and it's based on a lot of the research of it.
Oh, sorry, you got to pause here. Could you imagine him bringing in Richard Dolan? That would be it.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Wow, then it'll be mainstream because everyone's like, oh, he's just a UFO guy.
Right.
But I mean, he's a great historian and a great researcher. Yeah. Sorry.
A guy named Richard Sauter, who is very hard to interview. So Richard kind of went through all the material, and clearly I don't know if you ever saw, Washington Post did a project. It was in 2010 or 12 called Top Secret America. And one of the reporters, it was a team of 2 reporters, one of them put together a database of all the different top secret installations that had been built in the country, including since the Patriot Act. And what you saw was just this explosion of money in building so many, both underground and above ground facilities.
Not all sleep aids are made by pharmaceutical companies. You probably heard about their new product, Sleep.
Lovely guy. And he comes up, he says, "Can I talk to you after the meeting?" And I said, "Sure." And he pulls out this big glossy brochure for the Council on Foreign Relations. And he said, "The time has come for you to join." And he said, "We want you to ask Nick Brady to sponsor you." And I said to him, "Sam, I just don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this." And he looked shocked and he said, "You don't understand. If you don't do this, you're out forever." And just at that moment,
where should we do the missing insurance?
And but I was at a sermon, and there was a co-pastor who had very long fingernails, and she was very angry, and she was shaking her hands with her long fingernails. And sometimes when you're in a big church and they point right at you, and she said, "The devil can have my house and the devil can have my car, but the devil cannot have my joy." And it was like I exploded in my head, and I said, "That's it.
That is it.
That is it."
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You may have noticed that the companies whose product...
Sorry, she does talk about Breakaway Civilization. He's like, "Why do you call it that?" Anyway, it's a great interview.
Perennially shocked by evil in the world. Like, you're a child. You're an idiot. Like, what did you think this was? Like, don't be naive.
What's he talking about there?
I think he's talking about Shapiro.
Oh, jeez.
The child is the protagonist, and he's fighting a force in the universe called the Nothing.
Oh.
And the Nothing is running around the universe, sucking meaning out of everything. And it's hard when you're dealing. And if you look at this digital control, it comes with an energy that's very demonic and sucking meaning out of everything. And they're very good. They're masterful at turning allies against each other. The divide and conquer thing is really heartbreaking.
It's happening right now on the right. I see
heartbreaking.
it. Yeah.
And so you're up against the Nothing. And so sometimes we'll come together in a team meeting, and somebody will say, "I've lost my state of amusement." And then the team's job is to help them to get it back.
I've lost my state of amusement.
I've lost my state of amusement. And it happens. I can't,
But it is, I think of this of myself where, I've had my amusement taken from me a number of times. But I always think to myself, like, if you're perennially shocked by evil in the world, like, you're a child, you're an idiot. Like, what did you think this was? Like, don't be naive. There's a lot of evil in the world. There always has been. Don't be shocked by it. Laugh in its face.
You're always going to be shocked.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a great interview. And she does bring up breakthrough energy. She talks about this website here called Brilliant Power, and it's a client of hers. Look at this: electrical power from hydrogen to dark matter. I have no idea about this stuff, but this is like real. And she says that it's a client of hers. Like, look at the light and energy it creates. I mean, look how bright that thing is.
Yeah, no kidding. Is it so? It's not just I'm sorry. I'm looking. If you could bring it back. It's doing something to that wall there. Do you see what I'm saying? If you bring it back, it's like bubbling the wall out. Yeah, you see that?
Oh, so it's between these. Oh, it might be like a Casimir effect. Those are called. So these might be 2 different membranes, electrically charged, and then that's in the middle. Yeah, look at that. The power of the sun cell. The electricity producing sun cell uses a catalyst to cause hydrogen atoms of water molecules to transition to the lower energy hydrino states by allowing their electrons to fall to smaller radii around the nucleus. This results in a release of energy that is intermediate between chemical and nuclear energies and a non-polluting product. The energy release of the hydrogen separated from H2O that can be acquired even from the humidity in the air is over 100 times that of an equivalent amount of high-octane gasoline.
Wow.
the highest known power density with direct electricity conversion facilitates essentially all power applications untethered to fuels or grid infrastructure. The electrical generation cost is anticipated to be less than 10% of any known power source. That's
Incredible.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world's first continuous plasma. There it is. Look at that.
You'd think
From
they'd get
water.
you'd think they'd get a better camera to film it.
You know, dude. Engineers are not really good marketers. Oh, no.
They got to get Corbell on the case.
Yes, they do. So this is a cool website. Look at them. Updated May 8th, 2023. So it's all new. Business
Nice.
presentation. I mean, I'd like to invest in this. Obviously, these companies usually you have to be like a accredited investor, and
Well, and the thing is, they get bought. This company will
hope
get
not.
bought by BP Oil, and all of a sudden it won't exist anymore.
Look at that. They even have it in cars. Could you imagine just having that? You don't have to charge nothing.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Sun cell optical power measurements at 1.14 megawatts. That's crazy.
Yeah, this company is definitely getting bought by Chevron or someone.
Dude, enough,
And
right?
this-
Don't we
this
want
car-
a new golden age? Oh no.
This car will never get to market. Never.
Yeah, agreed. I'm having that whole issue again with my thing, but I'm going to continue with the presentation anyway.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and then see what happens. So now this is Jake Barber in his latest interview. He talks about an incident. And now I don't know if this incident's happening with Skywatcher or when he was doing his crash retrievals as a job. But he talks about this incident with a craft in front of his helicopter. I think they can't see it, or the sensors can see it, something like that. But he's still doing the work. And this is like another angle, and this is another thing that's helping with disclosure. And
Great.
he could be, again, just a different way to control the narrative.
Sure. Well, they all could. Maybe
Yeah.
it's CIA agents from top to bottom.
Yep. Why not? They have the budget, right? They totally have the budget for it.
I just had another really funny thought. What if there's no aliens, there's no UFOs or UAPs?
All
It's
CIA.
all CIA.
Why does that
Every
remind me
single
of
one.
something? That reminds me. I think it reminds me of a comedy.
Like South Park kind of did that. They did because South Park did a 9/11 Truth episode, and the whole time Stan and Kyle, who are two of the main characters, are running around trying to figure out who saw or who did 9/11. They're going through all these conspiracies, and at the very end, it's just revealed that in quotes, a bunch of pissed off terrorists did it. And so it's like they keep jumping from conspiracy to conspiracy. It's really funny, and then you get to the very end and they go, what? No, it was a bunch of pissed off terrorists.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right, see Jake here.
We've actually not been able to see anything, despite the fact that our tactical operations center is telling us it's right in front of the nose of the helicopter, and the operator in the tactical operations center, which we call the top, actually has us on frame in camera with the object floating right in front of the helicopter and the helicopter in the same frame. And so they're seeing it. They're seeing both the helicopter and the target, or the blue cube, but the pilots in the helicopter don't see anything with the naked eye. And even more interesting than that, our helicopter gets frozen in midair. We've had, even as recent as last month, we deployed the helicopter, and as we were getting vectored to the target, the helicopter stopped moving. Blades are turning, engines running, but the helicopter would not move up. It would not move forward. It would not move left or right. It was essentially stuck at what seems like a barrier that the object itself had set and was like, hey, don't come any closer. Stay where you are. Instruments inside the helicopter, specifically the pedostatic system, which is an analog instrument that measures differences in air pressure around the helicopter in different modes of flight. Those systems were going crazy. They were just bouncing around. The helicopter pilot could not push the cyclic stick forward, which is the center control stick, couldn't raise collective. The collective stick was frozen, and it was stuck there for a couple minutes. After a couple minutes, the helicopter was able to retreat, ironically. So essentially, the only direction we were allowed to move, if we were stuck there at the will of the target, was away. It let us go away, but it didn't let us come any closer. And so, that
Isn't that nuts? How there's like a force field there.
Yeah, seriously.
It's just stuck in the middle of the air. I mean, he said the blades are going, but it can't do anything. It can't go left. It can't go right. It can't go forward. But it can only retreat.
I'm sorry. I was I was texting somebody on my phone. Did he say if he saw the physical object, or it was just?
I think he said that they couldn't. Right? That's how he started out.
I thought they just couldn't see it on their not radar or whatever, but on their tech. Could they like physically see through the window and see the object?
I think that they couldn't really see it. They saw it on the tech. Wait, I could be wrong. Let's replay that.
He was saying he was in the helicopter with the object in front of him that was seen from a third party.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if he was able to see it through the window or something. Sorry, we don't have to play the whole thing again.
Okay, all right. But I mean, it just shows like how powerful these things are, and maybe that's what they're afraid of too, is that these things are just using technologies that are just beyond us, and that even if we try to go to war against them or do whatever, we can't.
Yeah, exactly. We have no power. Like especially when you talk about the UFOs that fly in and out of water with seemingly no resistance. We can't. The U.S. military couldn't possibly compete with that.
No, exactly. Agreed.
Unless, in fact, that is U.S. tech.
Well. Now, that's Greer saying it, basically, right?
Or China or Russia or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. One of them. Well, I mean, if they have that, it would be over for us.
Yeah, that's true. As long as we don't have it. God, can you imagine flying a UFO or like a flying saucer and you're just dipping in and out of the water and just zipping and zooming around everywhere?
No, man. I mean, that'd be so much fun.
It really would.
I mean, or we wouldn't feel anything. It's just, you're here and then you're there.
Yeah, you're just essentially standing in a room.
Yeah.
This is a shout out to any aliens who may be listening.
Yeah,
please abduct us. But like be cool about it. Don't like torture us.
You don't need any more specimens or sex or whatever.
Yeah,
you've been doing that for decades. We just want to ride.
I mean, I would like a ride too, but I'm talking about a different ride.
Oh well, if it's the Nordics, that's a different.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Hey, Nordics, come pick us up. I got. Never mind. That joke was gross enough. I don't need to continue it.
But the people don't understand what we're talking about.
Sure.
So this is a good post from Tiff-tastic. I've seen her a lot on X, and she talks about the 4 pillars of secrecy and why it's hidden.
Good. We were just wondering about this earlier and every day. So,
and here she is. She goes, the monetary system would collapse.
Now, hold on. So, can you show more? Because I'm interested in this. The global financial system is built on the illusion of scarcity of energy, resources, and access, carefully maintained through debt, interest, and centralized control. Full disclosure of extraterrestrial technology, particularly free energy or matter replication, would render this entire structure obsolete. Yeah, no, that's totally true. If energy became limitless and decentralized, the foundational pillars of our economy, oil, mining, banking, even national currencies would lose all value. I don't know if I need to read more. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, and she's right. If we have technologies like this, then you have infinite amounts of resources, not just energy, but then you can create elements. You don't have to mine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like in every sci-fi movie in the last 30, 40 years. I mean, think about it. If you don't have to fill up your car, or hell, you just teleport to work or fly to work or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have to buy food because, you just plug whatever you want into a microwave and it pops out. Yeah, I mean that would if you don't need to pay the the electricity bill for
Yeah.
your house because it runs on free energy.
And but the thing is, the population would also explode, and that's something they do not want.
Oh yeah, no,
Right.
they hate us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yuck, more humans are unsaved, more independent humans. No, thank you.
More of the uncleaved, unshaven mess of people that make less than $150,000 a year. We don't need
So
any more
sad.
then.
Right. What did that guy from the WEP I forget his name, that Israeli. He said useless eaters, the useless eaters.
Yeah, what a
He
great
actually
way to
said
put
that.
it.
I know, he actually said that. He goes, "We'll just drug them and give them video games." And then
Hey, I'm always down for a good time.
so she also says religious paradigms would be undone.
I'm just gonna organized religion has long claimed authority over humanity's origin, purpose, and place in the cosmos. The confirmation of intelligent life beyond Earth would shake those foundations to the core. Would it?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not Christianity and some Muslims. I don't know. Definitely Judaism, I think.
You think so? Because
God, right? Yeah,
yeah. I mean, this one,
which is what counts in this world, right,
so
that we live in.
The first one, like the whole monetary system collapsing, I get that. This one, I'm so on it. I don't think people would be too weirded out, and I don't think faith would ever lose its place in humanity.
What if it comes out that we're an experiment from one of these things?
Well, there'd be a huge section of people that would start worshiping the aliens because they now have become God.
Yeah, so maybe there's that too. So the power of religious institutions lies in their role as gatekeepers between humanity and the divine. Disclosure threatens that role by offering a direct line to cosmic realities that transcend doctrine. People would no longer seek salvation through dogma, but through awakening. Personal gnosis would replace meditated beliefs. It's not that faith would die, but the systems built upon exclusive truth would crumble.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that.
So the fear isn't of people losing hope. It's of them realizing they were always more divine than they were taught to believe.
Now, that last part I don't agree with. If you finally found out that you were more divine than you had previously believed, would you lose faith? Would you?
No. Maybe in the institutions, because
like people stop going to church because they feel like they can pray at home or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or that they don't have to go to a priest to ask for forgiveness or to confess sins or these things.
Mm-hmm.
Energy and power fall. Yes,
we know that we got over that extensively.
Political legitimacy would disintegrate.
Oh, it should be disintegrating right now.
Yeah, it is. We're seeing it happen.
The moment humanity learns it has been deliberately misled for decades about the existence of advanced beings, hidden technologies, and a greater cosmic context, the credibility of global governments evaporates. I mean, it's already evaporating.
Yeah.
People have less faith in the government now than ever.
So people are so sick of it.
Yeah.
How corrupt it is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they're like, it's just all distractions, just stupid stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the bread and circuses thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows our government lies to us. Everyone knows you can't trust a politician, and that this is not uniquely an American phenomenon. Everyone around the world knows this.
Right.
So this is already kind of happening. But to me, it doesn't have anything to do with aliens. We're just so attuned. We've got social media now. We have news at our fingertips. We can see that global governments are just horrible.
Yeah, unfortunately, and they're all controlled. In this, it's like this system that was created after World War II, the post World War II, global financial system. We're all in it, and all these countries are in it. They're trying to get away from it with BRICS, as we can see.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it say here? The Revelations doesn't just expose a lie; it exposes a ruling class more invested in secrecy than in service.
And we know that too.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need aliens for that.
Yeah.
So the truth that ends the game. But she's right. I mean, if we
Yeah.
truly want like real transparency and the system to come back to us and work for us again, which like it was in the past, it wasn't for very long, but it worked and we were prosperous and we were free. This secret has to come out, and if it
Well,
dismantles, oh well.
Well, I mean, it seems like this is why they're fighting so hard to keep us hidden from the truth. I mean, this is what we talked about earlier when I was asking, like, why can't you just confirm that aliens exist? It's because there's a lot of other stuff that comes with it. Free energy. I mean, you've always been a big believer that we have the technology. I think, I don't want to speak for you, but
Mhm.
that we have the technology for free energy and
Yeah, I
stuff
definitely
like
believe that.
stuff like that. And yeah, all those reasons, I guess, would be a good reason for them to hide it from us.
So this is from the Cato Institute, a very well-known think tank in Washington, D.C. And this is their podcast. They interviewed this guy who wrote The Last Humans. What's his name? Alexander Wendt.
Hell
The
yeah.
Last Humans, UFOs, and National Security, National Security. And he basically says that things will collapse. We have a clip here you can listen to. But
Oh,
so
good.
these are the people in DC, and they're still saying this stuff, which is like the Brookings Institute thing, and I forgot what the CIA, not the Robertson panel, the other one, where they basically said we have to keep this secret because
It's all
people can't-
it's all the same. It's one big governmental body that doesn't want to give up their power.
Right. Yeah. And so they use people like him and his scholarship. They use it as an excuse to keep the secret going. So this is not helpful, So his is him
Great.
talking about that.
So the state part, the state is kind of the centerpiece of the whole book is kind of state centric. It's really about what states are up to and the threat to the state. And the state's job is to kind of keep things together and to help us feel safe in our ideas and our conceptions of ourselves, and that our identity is going to be safe and everything else. And this threat shows that states may not be able to do that if people start to lose confidence in the state and the state's ability to protect them.
So you spend some time examining the different ways that this ontological shock could kind of undermine social cohesion on a global scale. And you explore these potential reactions through the lens of three emotions: wonder, fear, and greed. Talk a bit about that and how you see the different potential reactions and consequences going.
The idea there is that our response, the human response, even if it's just discovering without actually meeting any aliens, and we can come back to that because that's a very important point that you had raised a few minutes ago, so we can come back to that. But my idea was that once it's announced, if there's somebody to do the announcing, once it's announced that scientists have discovered aliens and so on, I think most people's reactions are not going to be calm, rational reactions. They're going to be emotional reactions. And some people will be dominated by fear. Others are going to be dominated by greed and seeing opportunities to prey on people. I think the most interesting category is the category of wonder. But there are other emotions too that I played around with. Shame is another one that I had considered, but I didn't write that in the book, but shame would be a good one. Shame at losing our hegemony, shame at being weaker than the aliens and so on. So each of these three emotions allows me to get at a different set of responses that people might have. And some people will react one way, some people react the other way. But in each case, all three emotions, there are many potential responses, emotional responses that would involve undermining the state. Many emotions would undermine our confidence in the state's ability to protect us, and that's what starts the whole autoimmune process.
That's not helpful, man. I mean, the thing is, the keto industry, it influences government policy. Like our policymakers, get lobbied by people like the Cato Institute. So this is the message that they're telling our policymakers.
Yeah, shocker.
Yeah,
keep the systems in place to keep us in place. It's always like this, man.
It's like they wanted to just collapse then, and then they can rebuild it. I think that's what they're planning for. It's like they will not. I mean, they're committed to keeping this system propped up as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, and until they can get into their underground bases or fly away on a spaceship,
right?
Or
and that's why. So, and
Yes.
and it's probably what they tell the politicians too. Like, don't worry about it. We have it all planned for you. Look, we got these military bases underground. You know, if anything happens, you're protected. You know,
And they also say, and I know I keep bringing this up, but I think it's worth mentioning. They always say, "Hey, listen, you know, don't speak out about this because we have a video of you having sex with a 12-year-old boy on an island someplace."
and that right. If one doesn't work, it's the other.
Yeah,
So-
it's the carrot or the stick, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Red Panda, has he agreed to come on our show yet? Did he ever respond to you?
Let me check. I haven't checked in the past couple of days, but I don't think so, dude. Maybe him and Tupacabra do a show together, so maybe I'll ask Tupacabra.
Okay.
Because we follow each other. And they love X, so they do lots of X spaces, you know.
Oh, cool.
They're
Maybe we
always
should get
on
me on
there.
those.
So maybe we get up there and we're like, hey, you know, guys, come on the show, you know, let's discuss these things. It'll be fun.
Because we're like every episode we're sharing something from Red Panda Koala.
Yeah, he's great, and he grabs clips from very long. And there was hearings on the mystery drones, and here's a clip where the FAA didn't show up.
Oh God, this has got to be good.
I mean, just to let people to remind people is that when the Trump administration took over, they said, we're going to tell you guys about the mystery drones. They came up and they said, oh, they're all FAA approved. So now we have hearings on the mystery drones, and the FAA doesn't show up.
Not suspicious at all.
Yeah.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, the FAA is no longer testifying at today's hearing, but they have committed to answering in writing any questions that our members have. If any member has questions they would like to submit to the FAA following this hearing, please get them to staff for the FAA to answer.
Pretty embarrassing.
Now we're going to administer the oath to the witnesses.
You know, it's crazy to me that a government body can just decide not to show up for something like this.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Something that took the nation by storm. It drove New Jersey, not just the people, but I mean the government insane.
Everyone was going nuts over these things.
Yeah.
I mean, we covered it on the show like a couple times.
It's one of our most popular shows.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the biggest deals that's happened in recent years in terms of UFO stuff.
Yeah, and it was a real UFO flap for sure. I mean, there was some weird stuff out there. I'm not saying that we didn't have our own drones up there, but even Jake Barber, they brought him to figure out what these things were, and he said there's a lot of anomalous stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we had our own drones up there. And helicopters and planes and stuff like that, but
exactly.
Not all of it was FAA drones.
No, and it was really, really bizarre. And there was another hearing. So there was the UAP hearing, but they had Eric Davis in there, which is awesome, and he says some crazy stuff.
Nice.
Here's a clip here from James Fox.
A long story short is that I came into contact with industry leaders, technical scientists, both active duty and later retired, as well as intelligence officers, generals, admirals, colonels, people who directed intelligence or human intelligence collection and analysis directorates at the DIA and the Central Intelligence Agency, who reached out to me to have me do some foreign UAP intelligence analysis and assessment. And so I had been exposed to so much in the classified realm that I can tell you definitively that they're there. The human race, basically the world biggest governments, like the United States, our adversary China and Russia, at least as far as I know, have had the occasion to recover craft that have either landed or crashed or both in their territory or even outside of their territories, and have taken us back to the most sensitive of their programs that they've ever had. These programs are even more sensitive and more well hidden than the Manhattan Project was, or the modern nuclear weapons industry and the U.S. military and the Department of Energy programs to maintain and upgrade and modernize our nuclear weapons arsenal.
So more classified than hydrogen weapons, which we
Yeah,
all
that's
know.
so. Did they cut his mic, or they just needed to like turn it up? What's the deal there?
Yeah, I think just turn it up, and even here too, it's not that clear, but he goes into the different alien species as well.
Oh, hell yeah! I'm all here for this.
Are they multiple species? Are they like what was their size? And how many are usually on a craft?
They're typically the multiple species people are familiar with, the Greys, the Nordics. People have talked about reptilians and insectoids. It's not that they're reptilian or insectoid, it's that they resemble to the recipient of reptile or insect type humanoid, because they have this a head and 4 limbs and torso.
So large, small?
Human size, human scale.
And are there how many are accrued?
Well, the Greys I'm familiar with from investigating the crash of Corona, which is misnamed the crash of Roswell. It's not a crash of Roswell, it's a crash of Corona in Mexico. Those were Greys, those were 4 foot tall. And the Nordics are typically human size, probably 5, 6 feet tall. And same with the people who mislabel reptilian and insectoid, they're roughly that height too. I haven't heard anything about anything 7 or 8 feet tall. That nature.
We talk about reptilian and insectoids. Now he's saying that people perceive them as that, but he's not saying that they are reptilians or insectoids, but they're perceived as that. But that they're humanoid, that they have a torso, a head, and limbs like us. And he talked about the Greys. He said Corona, not the Roswell crash. He says it's the Corona crash.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Crazy stuff, huh? So that was done. And of course, they had Elizondo who shared this thing.
Yeah, man. Such a
Why, dude? Why? I mean, it looks like it's an optical illusion, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's farming land. If I understand farming correctly, the dark part has either been picked or burned, but
Something
I don't
like
think
that.
it's been burned because it's a perfect circle, and the white one has not been harvested yet. But it's super embarrassing that he shared this.
Yeah,
like
very
that.
embarrassing. And if he is a disinformation agent, and that's
he
what he did, counterintelligence, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if that's his job. Sorry, yeah.
He didn't just share it. He brought it to the council hearing.
Yes, he brought it to that hearing and he held it up and saying, like a pilot gave that to me or whatever. And here it is, the internet found it. They found exactly where the location is. And it's very unfortunate because people, what's this? Yeah, people will dismiss the entire hearing. Like what we just heard from Eric Davis. They're like, see, it's all stupid lies. And I mean, maybe they shouldn't invite the guy anymore, to this thing.
Well, not until he figures his shit out.
It's really funny from Red Panda.
Oh, good.
They're great trolls, these guys.
This is now to 21,000 feet. Taken by skin.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
The object potentially is anywhere between 600 to 1,000 feet. I cannot vouch for the veracity of this photograph. And I just received permission today to share this with you.
Every special access program has a counterintelligence officer.
Oh, God.
That's their job. It's their job. There's a source of forged documents right there. Go back through the UFO history, and you'll see fingers pointing to others.
Guess what? Congress has no idea that this is happening on a regular basis. That's a problem.
Oh, God. Very powerful video. Thanks, Red.
Hopefully, well, I know my mom won't know. Hopefully, the Breaking Bad things that were cut in there, that's from a very heartbreaking scene. Have you you've watched Breaking Bad all the way through?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great show.
Very, very sad scene, but that's how a lot of us felt when we saw this. It's just like, oh, come on, man.
I know. Stop. Just stop. I think the second time. I mean, remember the one before it was he shared an image that was known to be just a reflection of a ceiling lamp.
Yes.
And he said it was a UFO.
These UFO guys.
Yeah. Hal Puthoff was on Joe Rogan.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah, he spoke about a lot of things. I don't know how we're gonna get these clips, especially that my screen is still not working on the right here.
Yeah, what is going on there?
I don't know. I even fixed my whole memory issue. Something happens when I click on a YouTube tab on one screen, and then the screen on the right just blacks out for some reason.
Oh, darn.
Or the browser does.
Well, I can see it.
Okay, yeah, awesome. And you can hear me, so the show is still going.
Yeah.
But Hal Puthoff, well-known researcher in the UFO field, in physics and in black projects. Wait, he's been doing this for like 30, 50 years, something like that.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
He did remote viewing as well. He founded it in SRI in Stanford. He's one of the founders of that. And he worked with, who's the famous guy? There's two of them. Is McGonagall is one of them, and then there's the really famous remote viewer. Remember that he saw Jupiter and Mars.
Yes,
and he's on the Wi-Fi's as well. Anyway.
I know who you're talking about, but
Swan.
Ingo Swan.
Ingo Swan. There you go. Yeah. So he was friends with Hal Puthoff. And he's written papers on this, and he knows a lot about the UFO subject. So he said what he could on here. Definitely, I recommend listening to it, all of it, its entirety. And I think here I stopped at the materials that he examined from the craft.
All right, great.
Ooh, that's a nice.
So now, when going into the future, you're reasonably certain that this is a real phenomenon. Do you ever get access to these materials that you were discussing earlier? Have you ever seen anything?
Yes, I have. One sample I can talk about is.
Are there things you can't talk about?
There are things I can't talk about, right? But there's one sample I can talk about, which you could put up on the screen. That would be that.
This
layer.
right here. It's right here.
Yeah, right. It turns out that an Army person said that his grandfather had been involved in picking up debris from the Roswell crash, and so he sent it. Of all places, he sent it to Art Bell of the radio podcast, the great Art Bell.
Yeah.
So Art Bell turned it over to Linda Howe. Linda. So she's got it, and so she said she'd make it available, and so on. So about this time, I had already had my viewpoint shifted, as I say, by Edward Teller about, we should have more openness going on. And so, in fact, Tom DeLonge came along and, the punk rock Blink-182 and said, we should be, by the way, this is before even things came out in the New York Times in December 2017. He says, I've been talking to people at some aerospace corporations, and they're saying how hard it is to get students to do their engineering and come to work for us. And so he said, well, if there's anything to, quote, the UFO area, maybe you could generate some interest that way. And so, long story short, he got Jim Simivan, now retired high-level person at CIA, got me.
Keep that up, Jay.
And so, anyway, we started To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. And so we were part of what was behind helping Leslie Kean get that story out in the New York Times to break out that something was really going on behind the scenes.
Back to this material.
So anyway, on this material,
layered.
She came up with this material.
How big is this? So we're looking at?
Oh, it's about this big.
So 4 inches, something like that?
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty big. And so it's got all these layers. So on the one hand, you could say, well, this is just a guy sending in some stuff. There's no chain of custody.
Right.
You don't know if he's a fraud, making it up or whatever. But anyway, it turns out those are layers of titanium and bismuth. So anyway, we Tom DeLonge got a hold of a copy, and so we said, okay, we're gonna do everything we can to nail this down. So we actually set up a contract with an Army office, and then they arranged for ARROW, the All Domain Anomalies Resolution Office, to consider taking this seriously. And so they arranged that this could be analyzed by Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And so we provided this to them to analyze. Okay.
And what were the results?
Well, the results were that there's no obvious proof that it comes from out of our solar system, because there are various isotopes that would be different if it came from some other solar system. So that would be the first thing you'd look for to say, oh, this really is ET. So that didn't wash. The second part, though, was a little more interesting, and that is these layers of magnesium and bismuth, I mean, those are the size of a human hair, some of those layers. And they said, well, we can't find any evidence in the history of development of materials like that, and can't even imagine why anybody want to make it. So it's an anomaly. So no proof that it's ET. But one of the things we did do, he says, okay, well, how hard is it to make something like this? And so we got an aerospace corporation to say, can you bond bismuth and magnesium together, sort of like what we see in this sample? Well, they got 2 layers bonded, cost them over $1 million, broke down their instruments to do it. So it's still basically a mystery. So we got to read the report. It was not totally provided to the public. But
So
anyway,
is this about a 1/4 inch thick? Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah. It's about
So
like
how many
that.
layers did they estimate?
I think we had it might have been 18, something like that. We could probably count them. So anyway, so that's a possible example, but no conclusion we come
So
to
this is
definitively.
something that is of terrestrial origin in terms of materials when you measure the isotopes, but it's of a construction method that's not currently available.
That is a perfect description of the situation. And by the way, it certainly wasn't available back in the 40s and 50s,
Right.
when it supposedly was found.
Supposedly, that's the problem.
Yeah,
So when was
supposedly.
this was analyzed in what year?
Well, analyses started taking place by Linda Howe at other laboratories, I think in the years in the 2000s, and we got
As
hold
you
of
go
we,
back.
Yeah, we got it. I don't know, maybe 2020, something like that. So,
But whoever, if the chain
we
of
got it
custody
we
is
got it
accurate,
analyzed. We got it analyzed only a couple years ago.
but if the chain of custody is accurate, it goes back far enough where this is impossible.
Right. And seemingly, given the effort that the Aerospace Corporation put in, they can't even manufacture this today.
Right.
In that level. So
This Roswell crash.
Crazy, man. He goes through a lot of other stuff too. He talks about how there is an aerospace corporation, I guess he's talking about Lockheed, that have this stuff in the basement. They can't even bring it up to their engineers because it's so highly classified, and that's what the problem is. He's saying we cannot do anything because this is so highly classified that we can never really study this stuff, and it's really hurting our capabilities of doing this. And so, but I bet you someone is doing this, and that maybe this group that is outside the government has figured that out. They're keeping us in the dark, and maybe that's where the fear comes from, is that they have technologies that can just
Well, I mean, Apple and Google, I think Facebook too, they have underground like manufacturing things where it's completely dark and the technical people have to wear headsets to see what they're working on. I mean, it's not unheard of. I'd be amazed if Boeing doesn't have the same type of deal,
right,
or
yeah.
Lockheed Martin or whoever.
Exactly. Yeah, one of these contractors. Anyway, he talks about some crazy talks about his physics papers as well. Like they talk about warp drives. He said that there was a server, a classified server, the DoD, and they had these papers on warp drives and other things.
Now that would be life shattering.
It's just insane. He said there was 38 papers, classified papers on the system, that everyone loved them and that they would beg them not to take them down. So they just kept them up there. And yeah, it talks about these wormholes, warp drives, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, faster than light travel has always been a big pursuit of humankind.
Yeah.
Warp drives would certainly do it.
Yeah, and if you go back to the Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin, and the head of Skunk Works at the time in the 90s, him saying himself that we have the technology to take ET home, but it'll take an act of God to bring those technologies to benefit humanity.
Oh man, what a shitty way to say go fuck yourselves.
I know, right? Like, you plebes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You scum. You're not worth the gum on the bottom of my shoe.
Exactly. Yes, that's the attitude.
I know. I know.
Absolutely.
Like I'm doing a voice and I'm doing a bit, but that is legitimately how they feel about us.
It's so unfortunate. And maybe they're right. I don't know. I
No,
tend, to
they're
love, I
not
tend to love
right.
humanity. No, I know. I'm just saying, like, obviously there's people who agree with them, right? Like,
well, they're rich buddies who sit at the
these
top. They
supremacists.
all agree.
Right. This is
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like sitting on a mountaintop and looking at all the people below you and going, "You're all below me." Like, yeah, of course we are. We're at the bottom of the fucking mountain. What are you
Yeah.
talking about, bro? Come down here
Right.
with us.
And it's just nuts how we've gone so far away from that system of government where the people are, the government by the people, for the people.
Right.
It's just gone. Absolutely gone.
Some would argue it was never there in the first place, except for
Yeah,
the
some would.
founding fathers envisioned it that way, and
And then that's it.
and that's kind of just gone by the wayside.
Yeah. So here's new Arrow director John Kozlowski says the Pentagon keeps anomalous UFO cases from the public if they can't resolve them through scientific
Oh,
analysis.
Jesus Christ. Excuses.
Yeah, I gotta give it to them. These geniuses in there come up with any excuses to just not release anything.
I don't know if that makes them geniuses.
Well,
I think they're kind
evil
of
geniuses.
morons. Evil,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call them evil geniuses. I'd say they're just evil bad guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not
like caricatures.
It doesn't take a genius to say, "Oh, we'll release it to the public when we can figure it out with science." That's just a really bad excuse.
Yeah, and just to put it out there, so if Arrow does release something, and it's only going to be when they say it's balloons or birds or planes. That's it. That's it.
Or New Jersey drones.
Oh yes, yes, and drones exactly. If FAA approved drones. Anything
Yeah.
else is going to be shelved. And this is from the current director of Arrow. So let's listen to him.
Great.
We're opening up a portal, hopefully in the coming months, to allow the public to report to us. And so we're looking forward to getting more data from them, as well as local and state law enforcement. And then for the cases where it looks to be truly anomalous, we will then send it off to our scientific and intelligence partners for a very thorough analysis that generally takes on the order of months. And sometimes we don't even close those cases. We have to sort of keep them on the shelf, always looking for additional data to enrich them because the phenomenon are so perplexing. We're opening up.
All right. So basically,
okay, I get it. The government can't tell us everything at all times.
Right.
But what he's saying is it's going to sit on a shelf or, go into our own skunk works for an infinite amount of time.
Yeah. Instead of saying, oh, look, this is what we received from the public. Right.
Yeah.
And we're looking into it. We still don't know what it is. Here it is. But no, they're going to shelve it.
Right.
Something like this from Think Tank. Let me know what you think about this one.
By the way, did I send you the video or did you send me the video of the helicopter chasing a drone? Was that you?
Oh, yeah. We did that last week.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
And then
what?
Yeah.
Back that up. Play it again. I have not seen this.
Oh, I thought I sent it to you.
I mean, maybe you did, and I didn't see it on my phone, but that means it's breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah, but there's no sound.
Well, there's no sound in the video. There might have been sound in the actual taking of the footage.
And then it went away.
It did go away. Wow, I thought you were jumping around.
No.
Huh. Well, that's really weird. Now I don't think it's a sound barrier thing.
I think some people in the comments said it was a meteorite.
Yeah, I mean
backwards maybe.
No, I mean I can kind of like I get the meteorite argument, just because that's what they look like when they're coming into our atmosphere. They burn.
Yeah, but they wouldn't go up like that, right?
It didn't go up. This camera
It
looks
didn't?
like it's pointing up. This thing looks like it's going down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to me.
And yeah, because the angle is this way.
Yeah,
so-
I mean, but with the camera pointing up, that just basically means it's flying overhead.
Whoa.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Man, I really hope this is not like fake CGI footage bullshit.
Who knows, right?
I know. Who knows?
This is in Japan.
Interesting. What do the comments say?
This guy, he
Meteor.
Why was it?
Yeah.
My mind is blown.
So
And
the first guy said meteor, and the second guy was basically saying, no, it's not.
That is a jet going away from you and banking back towards you, thus hiding the flame from the engine.
Huh.
That's a
I
tiny
don't-
piece of sky. Is there a reason to film it?
So this is one of the arguments that skeptics use all the time. They say, well, why were you filming?
Yeah, and exactly, and just that area.
Right.
The fact that you have fatigue, CGI. Anyway, I thought it was
Very
cool.
good. Yeah, no, cool footage.
Chupacabra did a new one. You would love this.
Yeah.
Man, we should have them on the show. We'll have both. I'll ask both of them.
Nice. Yeah, it'd be fun. I think we
Hey,
have a
hopefully they
great
don't think they're too good for us.
Yeah, who knows?
Dream got broken, seemed like all was lost. What would be the future? Could you pay the cost? You wonder, will there ever be a second time around?
Oh, when the tears are over and the moment has come, say, my Lord, I think I found someone. You know it will be better. You're putting it together. I'm around.
Oh, Luna.
We got the woman and man.
Super.
We got the kids and the play.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
All these dreams fit under one umbrella.
Is that Egg Davis? Oh,
Step by step, day by day.
David Icke.
Different hands of pain. Deeper we fall, the stronger we stay. It will be better the second time around. Step by step, day by day. Fresh start over, different hands of pain. Only time will
Computer's
tell.
backwards.
You know what they say.
Boobina. Boobina.
Bubina. I don't know who that is. Young Dodie.
Second time around.
Oh, man. Good job.
That is great. Yeah, I got a good kick out of that. Thick whites.
Oh, man.
Interesting to include them.
Yeah. Oh, wait, who?
Thick whites.
Who's that?
That was about like 45 seconds ago.
Oh. That's not Booby.
I think it was okay, maybe it was keep going.
That's so funny with Greer.
Oh, it's right before
Oh,
that guy.
those. These. Oh, I don't know these. Who is that?
Thick whites. I have no idea.
Just thick white
I just
girls.
thought that
That's
was
hilarious,
that
man.
was funny. And then you got the guy spying on them after. That's wait, what? Triceratops. That's
followed by the season finale of Triceratops.
so we were talking earlier about AI creating TV shows and movies, and I
Yeah,
think this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's gonna go places because he's starting at the beginning of this. You know.
Yeah, and in
Don't be
fact,
surprised.
a couple months ago, I think I sent you. There was some guy using AI had created a whole TV show pilot. It was like Max Carnage or something.
Yeah.
And it's about this. It doesn't matter. It's about a police. I mean, the point of that is the AI is not quite there yet, but it's getting pretty damn close.
It's gonna get there. It will get there where you can just make entire movies with music, with dialogue. There's this one AI that
Yeah.
matches now the voice, the mouth movements like pretty perfectly with dialogue now.
You know what's weird that just popped into my head? Jim Carrey, the actor,
Mhm. Mhm.
he wrote a novel a couple years back. Actually, God, time flies. It was before COVID, so it's been more than a couple of years. He wrote a
Mhm.
book that was like pseudo. It wasn't really about his life, but he was the main character, and it was just kind of making a joke about. He was doing a bit essentially, and in some of the scenes in the book, he's having to do he's acting with some characters that have been I don't know if he said in the book it was CGI or AI replaced, but basically it made him sad because these people were his friends, but it was nice to like hang out with them again. So
Oh,
he's like in the scenes and making this movie, um but he's acting with some of his
right,
actor
right.
buddies,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're fake, and he knows that. But I remember the end of the scene where I'm thinking of he's sad. I'm trying to remember the name of it doesn't matter. I can't remember
That's
the name
a,
of anything.
that's cool. So wait, we're past 2 hours, right? We're like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something. I
Yeah,
can't see the
2:15.
screen.
You want to wrap it up, or do you got more to share?
We could there. I mean, it's too
I
bad
got
we can't talk
time.
about
I'm not doing anything. I just got to do laundry.
Okay. Well, this is crazy. This is Star Wars kind of stuff. Look at this
Cool.
thing flying.
What?
Yes.
That is like Star Wars stuff. Well, I mean, we've seen the what's it called when you have the jet thing on your back and you fly around.
Right, but
Remember
this is like a jet ski or a snowmobile in the sky.
Yeah, I know.
What?
It's a speeder from Return of the Jedi.
Yes, dude, the speeder. That's what I wanted. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
see, I remember
man.
hitting it that time. So is it
Waving.
fans on the bottom? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's got to be. It goes 200 kilometers per hour.
No way.
Volonaut. Let's open this
Future
up.
mobility, yeah, for sure.
Air bike.
Air
they're calling
bike.
it. Dude, let's get these things. Could you imagine, like in the forest in Montana? We'd definitely find Bigfoot.
I would love that. The only problem is I'm assuming they're super loud and they're super not in my price range.
Yeah, they're probably easily like 30 grand, right, or
Oh
more.
yeah, for easily. I'd be amazed if they were that cheap. But I mean,
Of course,
it's a really cool concept.
Wow.
I imagine you'll see these things flying all over Dubai in the next couple of years.
You're so right. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
It's crazy how science fiction becomes
Reality. Yeah, that's why I love science fiction so much.
Me too. It just shows you how human imagination,
Mm-hmm.
what it's capable of. Wow, and it's not that big. It looks so cool. Good
Yeah.
point. I wonder if it's loud or if it's electricity or gas.
Oh,
It can't be gas, right?
It's gonna be loud. I mean, they're not gonna play the sound of it on this advertisement we're
should.
watching, but that thing. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I'm talking about, like the jetpacks, right?
Yeah, those things are so loud.
Yeah, and so this thing has to be just as loud.
Right. Man. Or at least they should have them available to rent. Like, so yeah, Dubai would probably
I'm
be a
sure they will be.
great place for that.
You know what I've always wanted to try are those jetpacks, but they're water powered.
Oh yeah,
You
I'd
have
love to try that too.
Yeah, so you have to be like in the ocean when you're doing it. But as
Yeah.
much as I hate the ocean, I would still do it because those things look fun. This thing looks really fun too. Looks
does.
super dangerous though.
I mean, yeah, if you're not strapped in right, one mistake, you could be just flying off, or it could fly. Who knows what happens to it? It could like
Yeah.
get out of control or something like that.
I mean, it's one of the reasons I'll probably never get on a motorcycle because when you fall off, you're skidding along the ground at however fast you're going. This one has the added danger of you're up in the air, so you fall and then you skid. And
Right.
I mean, it's cool. I would try it for an afternoon. I don't think I'd go faster than like 15 miles an hour.
And it looks like it uses like joysticks, a joystick on the left and on the right. So I'm assuming
I
one
think
is
you're
for
right.
going up and down, and one is for going forward and backwards.
That's the other thing. Is I've done flight. I've talked about it on the show. I've done flight simulators. I even bought like the what's it called? The joystick and the throttle.
Oh yeah,
That's not the word.
Throttle.
Throttle. Thank you.
Anyway, very cool.
Very cool. I'd either try it or I'd watch you try it, and I think that's good enough.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Air bike, flying motorbike is a breakthrough in personal air mobility. All right, so how does it work? You gonna tell us?
Can you see a price too? Wait. Scroll up really quick. The
Here, or
super
more?
bike for the sky.
Oh.
Yeah, right there. Powered by jet propulsion and is designed to carry one person with speeds up to 124 miles per hour. My God. I
No,
hope
for how
people
long?
aren't doing it. Yeah, that's a really good question that they're not going to answer on here.
Right. Airbag is 7 times lighter. Okay. 3D printing. Stealth mode. Polish
What does
inventor-
that mean?
I
The
don't
lights turn
know.
off, makes it even more dangerous.
Has just come out. Oh, it's just come out of stealth mode development. All right. So they're
Oh,
saying
I see. I was
but
like,
no
stealth
price.
mode.
Just the
Yeah,
contact thing.
I was gonna ask if there was a price, and yeah, no, because it's probably super
Exactly.
expensive. Probably in the
Yeah.
six. I think
When
it's probably in the 6 figures range.
Agreed. I was just going to say, when you see something like that, it's usually 100 grand minimum.
Yeah.
So just quickly, Soul Foundation now has been marked for deletion on Wikipedia.
Great. We love Wikipedia here. They always tell the truth. They don't silence or inhibit anyone from telling the truth. So love Wikipedia.
If it wasn't for the Soul Foundation, we would not have investments in Skywatcher and Jake Barber, what they're doing. It's because of the Soul Foundation, because they brought people, from the business community, from the investment community, and then put them together with serious, credible UFO researchers.
I really hate that political activism has breached its way into sites like Wikipedia and Reddit and X and Blue Sky or whatever the hell they're doing over there. Free speech is free speech. I don't care. People always say, "Oh, free speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences," or it's a company. They don't, they don't have their own terms
they're
of
a private
service.
corporation. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like fuck that. We should have free speech. Obviously you need moderation on something like Wikipedia, since I don't even know. Did they change that? I don't think anyone can enter information on Wikipedia anymore. You need
you have to be. You can go in as an
it.
editor, and then you have to submit. It's like peer reviewed kind of thing.
Yeah, which is fine, but the editors should not have political. They should not be politically one way or the other.
Right. They should not. They should get rid of their political biases and just report the facts. Right. And something like the Soul Foundation, which is a think tank, it's a real think tank. It hasn't it's not under investigation by the federal government for fraud or anything like that. So they're just removing it because they don't want any credible evidence of this phenomenon or research into it.
Yeah,
exactly. They don't want the layperson to go in and say, they want the layperson to go in and say, this company doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I remember reading about the oh God. Before Epstein, there was another case of child rapists in
I
want to say
right.
it was a DC, yeah.
Yep,
And I went to go look up the article on Wikipedia because I wanted to know more. I go, man, how the hell does this keep happening? And the Wikipedia page was like a paragraph, and it just said, "Oh, it's largely considered a myth." And I was just like, "What the fuck? No, it's not."
Yeah. Too bad Wikipedia's gone down the drains.
Yeah, it really has. It's a good starting point. Like I said, I think I said it last week. I only use it to look up actors in movies. I can never remember their names.
All right, so since we're already over by a bit, so I want Ben from Solar Observers was on Kim Iverson about the pole shift. So this is a good one. We'll put it in the show notes so people listen to it. But he's been watching the sun for decades, man, and he knows his stuff. And what he says is pretty scary. I mean,
I was just about to say, buckle in, everyone. You're about to get scared. The pole shift is a very scary thing.
It is. We're not fear mongering here, but it has happened. It's happened before, and it just happened. It's part of the system that we're in.
Yes,
it happens, and the government's been getting prepared for it. Billionaires are getting prepared for it. So I'm not saying we can do anything. Maybe we can pool our resources together. I mean, that's what he does, by the way. He has I think it's called Observer Farm up in Colorado. And they have cars that have no electronics in them, so it's all old cars that they've kept
Yeah, I've
there.
heard
So
of that.
because electricity is not going to work when this
Right.
happens. Everything will get fried. All right, so let's listen to the fear mongering.
Great, let's do
when
it.
they hear about those things. Everybody asks a question that doesn't make any sense to me. Everybody asks, how do you freeze a mammoth so quickly to halt chemical digestion in its mouth and its stomach? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's not the right question. The right question is, what were they eating? Because we're 12,000 years into a warm, dare I say, hot interglacial cycle. 12,000 years out of the ice age, okay? And they still had to dig those things out of 20, 30 feet of ice.
Mm-hmm.
They were frozen in the glacial period when it was 10, 20, 30 degrees colder, and they need 1,000 pounds of vegetation a day. So if here we are, 12,000 years into a hot period, and they dug them out of that much ice, what was it like there 12, 15,000 years ago whenever they were frozen? There was no way there was any grass there. There's no way there was any plants for them to be eating. What were they doing there in the first place? And of course, the answer is the Earth looked like this, the equator about here, and then it went like this, and they all froze.
Uh-huh.
It's the same reason why, I'm going to pull this back, in Scandinavia, Finland, Norway, Sweden, whenever they dig up a forest that was frozen and covered by glaciers at some point past 12,000 years ago, the trees have no rings. Do you know what tree rings are? Those are the seasons. Now, there's a place on Earth right now where trees grow with no rings, and that's called the equator because it's the same season year round, which tells us that part of the world, Norway, Finland, Sweden, used to be near the equator. There's a classified mission called Project Nanook from the 1940s. The United States government was worried that Russia was going to come over the top, come over the North Pole and attack. So we worked out a deal with Canada to come up to here and start figuring out how to operate as a military up here. And one of the things they had to do, because back then all navigation was with a compass, right? They had to figure out where the magnetic pole is, and they figured out it was moving a little bit, so they started digging down into the ice to learn more. And the first thing they found was a layer of polar fossils, kind of what you'd expect, but right underneath it was tropical fossils, and then polar, tropical, polar, tropical. And that only works if the planet is tilting 90 degrees to put it at the equator and then bringing it back, and then putting it at the equator and bringing it back. There's several other lines of evidence we could look to, like all the ones that convinced Albert Einstein that the planet does this. He actually died trying to figure out the math and physics of how that tilt works. He had been convinced it happens. He was just, okay, how does it happen? Mm-hmm. And he died not figuring that out. He never looked at Earth's magnetic field or the sun or any of the stuff that we know about now. He didn't have that information. Humans didn't really know it. But all of this information suggests this is what happens to our planet. And it's exactly what is told in all the ancient stories as well, which I do believe have a little more history than they're given credit for. You know, things like myth and religious texts. I think that there's some history in there. They remember things that they saw and stories that were passed down. And they weren't something somebody just made up, the earth swaying to and fro like a drunkard. Everybody's heard that one from the Bible, but how about chapter 65 of the book of Enoch? The first line is, and Noah saw the earth turned over and knew its destruction was near. These things are found in nearly every myth, with the great flood, which is caused by the ocean sloshing around as the planet goes like this and basically dumping onto continents. I mean, imagine you've got a full glass, like all the way full to the top, and then you start going like this. Yeah. Water's going to spill out everywhere. So that's essentially what's on our bingo card here before 2050.
So how long does it take for the shift to go 90 degrees? Is that like
It
One
happens
day.
in a day. One day. It literally
One
just
day.
flips in
One
a
day.
day.
Yes.
How is that possible? I mean, I would think it would just slowly turn, but you're saying it just goes whoop, flips, just like that.
Whenever you have something that is spinning, okay, if it is not perfectly homogeneous, so let's say it's made out of paper mache, except for one little thing up here that's lead, okay, so obviously that part would weigh the most. If it is spinning, eventually it's going to want that heaviest thing to be at the point of greatest centrifugal force. This is a basic physics principle of things that spin. Well, what is that on the Earth? It's where ice has dumped north and south. That wants to be at the equator right now. Right now, the North and South poles want, from a physics perspective, to be here. That's what they want right now. The reason they're not like that right now is because the crust and the mantle are locked together. And that's what's going to change during the zenith of this event. The crust will be unlocked from the mantle. And then whenever we have that in physics, once it starts to move, it only takes one rotation for that to get down to the center, and it just stays there. Stops perfectly. As soon as it gets to where it's supposed to be, it stabilizes the entire system. So one rotation here on our planet is 1 day. You just apply the basic physics principle once the crust is unlocked from the mantle, and yeah, it'll be 1 day. And then, of course, afterwards, we have a new North and South pole that are gaining ice, and then 12,000 years later, when the crust is unlocked in this next event, it tilts exactly 90 degrees again in one rotation, in 1 day.
Oh, God. Well, there it is. He's great. He's a great researcher. He's a physicist. He's a scientist. He has research papers. He has textbooks, on this as well. He's followed by NASA engineers. And so,
Well, and I just want to thank him for ruining my Sunday. I just acquired one new thing to be worried about. Well, I was reminded. I already knew this was happening.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it begs, Antarctica comes to mind. I shouted it during the video portion, but I mean, if that was on the equator before, it's not so crazy that some civilization was there, and 12,000 years ago.
Right, exactly. Well, okay, so I'm going to skip over all the Israel stuff and the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. I think it's
I don't need to be put in a worse mood.
Yeah, well, the good news is that that act might not pass the Senate because there's a lot of people against it on both sides, saying this is crazy. It's against the Constitution, and people have the right to criticize, and so you're basically Rand Paul says that so what, we can't have comedians now talking about stereotypes because that's what comedy is.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, so anyway, hopefully it doesn't pass. It looks like it might not. But you never know. If it does pass, it's crazy. Another thing that's they're did you hear this one tomorrow? What they're voting on? They're voting on if you boycott Israel, that it's going to be $1 million fine and up to 20 years in prison. First of all, how can you enforce that,
dude? We better
we
better cancel this podcast and go into hiding because.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna beat up the aliens first.
Yes,
that's what I'm gonna do. Oh wait, is it showing? It's
showing. You just gotta hit play.
Aliens and shit, I could probably beat them up. If an alien came at me, no, I would not give a fuck. That's because aliens don't know karate. No karate's made on Earth. I also don't know karate, but I think that aliens have spaceships. I got a Corolla. Aliens back of my Toyota. Oh no, aliens don't know karate. No karate's made on Earth. I also don't know karate, but I think that I could learn. Aliens.
Dude, this guy is something else.
He's really funny. We played him last week about Hogwarts. I keep coming across his videos on YouTube, and he is so much fun, man.
Yeah, that guy's funny. Does he always do stuff with UFOs, or because
no?
What did we play last time? It was something similar to that, wasn't it?
He was talking about going to Harry Potter and beating up the wizards and stuff.
It's funny when these guys find what they are because he just looks dorky, you know.
Yeah. They find their little niche. I want to give him credit. Do you still have the video up by any chance? I can pull it up on my
Beat
phone.
up aliens. Oh, here it is. Let's put it up. Yeah, what is his name?
Yeah, we've been playing his videos for 2 weeks in a row now. And
Carter Vale. Carter
Yes,
Vale.
that's the one. Carter Vale.
Just the way he looks up into space like that, and his
he does that in all of his
stare
videos.
is so funny.
He does that in all of his videos where he's singing and he's also doing the background singing too, and it's always that same juxtaposition between him looking at the camera and him looking up and away. Very creative guy. There's a lot of good stuff on there. He's always
Up
got
with meth. Oh
yeah.
my
Click
god!
it. Let's listen to it.
You don't need 100 people to kill a silverback gorilla. You need one brave man from Florida with a tattoo of an eagle. You can pump him up with meth. Adrenaline will do the rest. And the other 99 will be just fine. You don't need
I just love he takes himself so seriously.
Very creative guy.
Yeah, great stuff.
So going into Topher's media corner, I did watch Big Trouble in Little China this weekend, and
Why is that not familiar? Is that old?
It's 80s. It's directed by John Carpenter, which I had no idea about. I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter's movies, like The Thing, Prince of Darkness, They Live. All of those movies are like in my top 10. I mean, I love him to death. He was clearly tapping into something dark because they are all horrific movies, but man, are they good. Oh, and I think I said this last episode, but I also been reading Harry Potter, so it kind of balances out.
Nice. Harry Potter's awesome. I can't. She is so talented and just writing so much. Like I think it's book 7 or 6. That's so long, and I don't know how she's just a great writer. I mean, the way she fills in and how she does the character development and building up the story, it's a talent no one else has. It's really impressive.
So I just finished book 4. I'm on to book 5, and there's such a tonal shift between the first 3 and 4. It starts getting like towards the end, it gets dark.
Right. Yeah.
And then 5 is dark, 6 is dark, 7 is dark.
I think 5 also there's a shift there. Even in her writing style, I kind of thought like, is there someone else writing this now? Because in her first 4 books, sentences were so long, like they're like a paragraph long, right? And it changes in the 5th book, almost like someone told her something, or maybe a different editor. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I grew up with those books. I still remember my mom taking me to whatever the bookstore was called, Borders, maybe, like on the day of release. And I remember every single time I'd buy the books, I'd read through the whole book in one day. I grew up reading a lot, and that's credit to my mom and dad.
That's
for
awesome.
encouraging that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Any other stuff? I was told before the show, I told you I was watching Severance. That's a really good show. So if people aren't watching it, definitely watch it. I mean, it's dark, but it's it's
some of the best. It's some of the best television you'll see. It's up there with Breaking Bad and the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
it's so
it is really, really good. The second season ended a month or 2 ago.
Oh, nice! So I can binge that too.
Yeah, but yes, you can.
Cool. Other than that, I haven't really watched. I do want to watch The Age of Disclosure. I don't think it's out yet, right? For rental or?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, that'll be a good one to watch.
But
other than that,
in a similar vein, we want to thank you all for watching or listening to us.
Yes, we definitely thank you and taking your time out of your day to listen to us, and we get you updated on the latest on UFO and UAP news and other corrupt government things that are going on.
It's all corrupt.
It is all corrupt, and it's all connected.
It is.
Secrecy is what started this, and what started the secrecy is this subject.
Yes,
it all comes back to this. So, but thanks for your support. You guys can follow us on X at UAP the podcast. I'm at Breakaway Civil, and Topher is at Topher at all. And since you're watching this, you know what platforms we're on. But if we're ever taken off YouTube, you can go on Rumble.
Or if you need to tell a friend about the show, which I highly encourage you to do.
Exactly. And if they don't like to be on YouTube, we're on all the other platforms. And for podcasts, also, you can find us anywhere until they take us off. But, if they ever do that, we have a plan. And since podcasts are what do they call it? Uncensorable or not censorable, because they work on RSS feeds. So if worst comes to worst, we can always have a website. I have all of our shows, all of them, with the show notes, everything. So it would be just about putting on a website, having the RSS feed, and then people just have to put the RSS into any podcast player, and there you go. You got a podcast going that's not on a platform that might censor us. It might happen. You don't know if what's happening with Wikipedia now. They're taking down all these, well-known people and the Soul Foundation, and you have the Cato Institute talking, fear-mongering. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if we get big enough, I can't imagine we'll be on YouTube too much longer. We criticize the Israeli government like every episode, so that's going to get us pulled down.
Yeah, if it's not the UFO stuff, it's going to be that at least.
Yeah.
Right.
But once again, thank you all so much for listening. That is I Have a Need to Know, Adam.
Yeah.
And I am just Topher this week. I couldn't think of a T nickname. Sorry, guys. I know I really let you down there.
But I'm sure you'll have one for next week.
We'll see. I was going to be toss and turn Topher because I couldn't sleep really much last night because I was tossing and turning. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Maybe I'll save that for next week.
Well, it sounds good. I think this was a great episode. Nice updates.
Definitely.
But I guess, we're probably going to call it like, who's in charge of disclosure? Just looking at all that, is it the NHI? Is it the U.S. government? Is it going to be China or Russia? Since they know this, we don't know, but we will see in the next couple of years what's going to happen.
Yeah. So please be patient, people. I have a tough time with that myself.
I know. It's coming soon.
Here's open.
Trademark. All right. Until next week.
Bye, everyone.
Message in the static, a shadow in the dark, a light against the stars, a podcast from afar. It's Adam and Topher, we come in peace. Our hunt for the truth will never cease. It's the Uncovering Anomalies Podcast, where the truth is told until the last. Listen to our words and hear our voices. We can't save you, but present your choices. A message in the static, a shadow in the dark, a light against the stars, a podcast from afar. It's Adam and Topher, we come in peace. Our hunt for the truth will never cease. It's the Uncovering Anomalies Podcast, where the truth is told until the last. Listen to our words and hear our voices. We can't save you, but present your choices. We can't save you, but present your choices. We can't save your choices. We can't save you, present your choices. Present your choices. We can't save you, present your choices. We can't save you, but present your choices.